Yeah, good. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Outlaw Picks podcast. Today, we are discussing UFC 272, which is an amazing card. Joined by Veronica again, as you can see. Okay, quick shout out to the sponsors. First of all, we're sponsored by NordVPN. They've been supporting us for a good long while, and it's always useful to have a VPN for a variety of different things, for geo-block content and all that kind of stuff, as well as protecting you and your digital assets while you're traveling. Make sure you check out their website. Go on to nordvpn.com and use the code OUTLAWED, or you can go into nordvpn.com/outlawed and you'll get a huge discount. I think it's like 70% off, which is ridiculous. And you'll also get an additional month free and a free gift as well. And there's also a 30-day money-back guarantee, so it's definitely worth checking that out. So, exclusive NordVPN deal, nordvpn.com/outlawed, or use the code OUTLAWED for a huge discount, a month off, and a free gift. Okay, and we're also brought to you by Full Reptile, of course. I'm wearing one of the lifestyle t-shirts right now. We've currently got a sale on the remaining ends of the lines of the lifestyle stuff. It is almost gone. We've got a few sizes, so jump on there quickly. We're 25% off all the lifestyle stuff, and then we've got new stuff dropping very soon, which is very cool. A load more roughhouse stuff, which has been in high demand. Fullreptile.co.uk / Dan says so. No, there's no / You don't need it. Just go on the website and just fill your basket up, and the 25% is applied at checkout.
Just confuse everybody.
I know, I'm confusing myself. It's one of those kind of days. Mondays, I'm always a bit confused on a Mondays. Okay, shall we get into this card?
Yeah.
Okay, there is some great fights on this card, including this first one, which is kicking off, which is, where are we on the... Here we go. Dustin Jacoby against Michał Oleksiejczuk. Lord Oleksiejczuk.
Lord. That's
his nickname. I love it. So Oleksiejczuk's a rather undersized fighter for this division, right? Mm-hmm. He's kind of a chubby middleweight. And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful, but there is definitely body fat that you would get off him if you were trying to strip him down to his optimum weight, you know? If you were trying to get him into like flying weight, as they would say with birds of prey, or, you know, racing weight with a car that's been stripped down, there's definitely some that can be taken off his frame. But then, you know, he moves fast, he's got power for this weight class, and he's got this confidence in not only in his chin, but in his ability to connect that makes him interesting in this division. I mean, what do you reckon? He's only 27 as well.
I really like Michał.
Yeah.
I'm just going to call him Lord. I love him just because of the way he approaches fights. I've spoken to his manager, Pavel, and he just says, this dude just loves to fight. Yeah. Like, he'll fight anybody, anywhere, like in his backyard, in the training camp. Like, everything is about just throwing it down. Mm-hmm. And because of that, he has gotten sort of like a lot of rounds. He does train with his brother, and he's gotten a lot of rounds, a lot of repetition. So he's able to, even though he's not like physically as strong as the other guys, he's been in the position where he's seen so many openings by so many rounds, so many play sparring things or real sparring that he can see openings and kind of pressure you and stay in front of you and counter and move out of the way through things that he's already seen.
Yeah. You can tell he's got a lot of experience because of how comfortable he is. And I think I called a couple of his fights. The Jan Vellante fight with the body shot was just brutal. I mean, Jan Vellante moved weight classes after that, I think. And then the other one with Antigolov, Gadzimurad Antigolov, just ran at him and he got knocked down like 3 times in 45 seconds. He's got big power in his hands. My concern is that there's going to be a point where he's going to find his limit in this division. Like when he faced OSP and when he faced Jimmy Crute, they were just too much physically for him. They both submitted him. And I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's going to get that kind of fight against Dustin Jacoby, but I do wonder how far he gets in this division before moving a weight class makes sense. Because so if you look at his height and reach, so he's got a disadvantage in height and reach by 3 inches in height and 2 inches in reach. Now, they're my statistics. I'm 5'11 and a half with a 74-inch reach. and I'm nowhere near as big as Dustin Jacoby. I've stood next to this guy, and he's a big lump, and he he's confident in his striking skills as well. I don't think this is a problematic fight for Oleksiejczuk, which is why I'm going to pick him. But I wonder where his limit is as he gets further into the division. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's just, I don't know. I mean, I'm all for fighters being comfortable in the weight class, but I also think people need to be in athletic, refined athletic condition really to find their optimum performance. Like Kelvin Gastelum, I keep going back to Kelvin Gastelum. Like he's a welterweight with too much weight on his frame.
Yeah.
Like really to see his true potential, I would rather see him in the weight class where he's not carrying body fat. I mean, same thing as me really. When I was never super lean on the scales, but that's the modernization of the sport and the Performance Institute, and people are far more interested in diet and nutrition.
Yeah, but like that's kind of what you see with fighters like him and with Gastelum. Like they like to fight, and they're not about like eating 3 chicken breasts and lettuce and like all of that, doing the tire hit and your CrossFit class. They're like, let's bang, let's go.
And you don't lose that. You don't lose that attitude when you're in better shape.
No, I'm not saying that you lose it. I'm just saying that there seems to be kind of you. It's difficult to maintain that balance between going through like the numbers, the statistics, the proper weightlifting, proper diet, proper everything, and kind of keeping the fight. Because if you think about like when you're dieting a lot or when you're doing some things, you go from focusing on what is my next meal, what the macros are, what like the nutrients and all of that starts taking into play and does take away a lot from your training. And if there are the fighters that they're like, nah, if I have to do that, I don't want to do it, then that can come into play.
Yeah.
I will say he does have, he has been caught for doping, which kind of goes more to my point.
Yeah, that was his debut, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it kind of goes more to like, it wasn't a doping to be jacked. It was like a doping to like keep cardio going.
Yeah.
So that's the part that kind of... that I don't like that much about him, I guess.
What was it for? Was it EPO?
I don't remember. It was like it was something like steroid like cardio related. I think it was something like that. I don't remember much about that.
I'll have to look into it.
But then again, like I feel like he can pressure Dustin down, but Dustin does have good kicks, like nasty kicks, and he threw a lot against Ledet, who is also a boxer. Yeah. And the Lord's guard, he kind of does this like this weird thing like that it scares me, because when Dustin fought Darren Stewart, he like jabbed him and then did a fake kick in order to draw a reaction, which was giving up this opening. And that guard kind of has these openings, and he might be able to connect, especially with because he's he was a glory kickboxer. He has great like skills.
Yeah, 10-8 is worth noting though.
Yeah, but a 10-8 in glory, like in kickboxing, is not the same as
glory. I mean, this is why I think this is an interesting one to open the card, because they know they're going to get a banger, because Oleksiejczuk's style is to come crashing forward and throw overhands. And Dustin Jacoby's, he either goes out on his shield or he carries somebody else out on his shield.
Yeah.
10-8 in kickboxing, 9 knockouts wins and 3 knockout losses. 16 wins in mixed martial arts, 10 by knockout, 1 by submission. 5 losses in mixed martial arts, 1 by knockout, 2 by submission. I'm going with Oleksiejczuk. I think he's more effective in close range, and I think he's going to be able to close Dustin Jacoby down. And I just, regardless of height and reach and all those kind of things, he just, like you said, he just likes to scrap. He likes to get into close range and try and knock people out. And I do think he's going to be able to connect with Jacoby, who obviously has been tested a few times.
Yeah.
Which way are you going?
I think I'm going with the Lord as well.
Oh, yeah.
I just think that like Dustin sometimes extends like both hands a little bit too much. like it's kind of like an instinct that with the pressure that the Lord has, he can capitalize it.
I think it's just Lord. He's not the Lord.
Okay.
There'll be a lot of religious people upset with you saying that. Lord Oleksiejczuk. Like, like a guy that lives in a castle and, I think that's the kind of vibe he was going for as opposed to like,
Oh, okay. Sorry.
pissing off the Brazilian fighters left, right and centre. They'll all be thanking
everybody
Oleksiejczuk in his post-fight
like...
interview. Okay. That's a good one to start with. Yeah, I think, I think Oleksiejczuk's gonna have a real banger in this one, and I think he's going to probably catch him with a couple of overhands. Now, this one's an interesting one. Ľudovít Klein against Devonte Smith.
Which recently was changed. Because he was going to fight Eric Gonzalez.
Yes, he was, and Gonzalez has injured his foot. So he's pulled out and has been replaced by Ľudovít Klein, who...
That sucks for him, man. I think Eric was like better off for him than
Klein's
Klein
a really
is.
tough opponent. I mean, he's coming off 2 losses. That's the one thing that you have to keep in mind. But like coming into the UFC, everyone was buzzing about him. He came in off a win over Łukasz Sajewski, who's a former UFC fighter. Stopped him in the first round with head kick and punches, and then came into his UFC debut and beat Shane Young with head kick and punches. And that one thing that people are going to say is he came in overweight on that. But if I remember right, that was a late notice one as well. And he is absolutely shredded to the bone. Like, this is what I'm talking about. Like, if this guy misses weight, I'm like, okay, at least he fucking tried. Like, I mean, there's not an ounce of fat on him. He's in incredible shape. But then that does mean he kind of treads close to the weight class limit. And I do wonder how that's going to affect him coming in on short notice against Devonte Smith. Because it wouldn't surprise me at all if his main priority for this whole time fight week, Ľudovít Klein I'm talking about, is cutting weight. Because, I mean, he carries a lot of muscle mass. He's very lean. He's taking this on short notice. And he's probably one of those guys that puts on 10 kilos and has still got abs. You know what I mean? So
what's crazy is that he's shorter and looks leaner.
Yeah. I mean, so if we just rattle down the tail of the tape. So we've got 17-4 for Klein and 11-3 for Smith. 2-inch height advantage for Devonte Smith, as well as a 4-inch reach advantage. More of a diverse skill set though in Ľudovít Klein, I would say. He's more of an MMA fighter, whereas Devonte Smith, he's a good striker. He uses his reach and his range well without committing his hips. I mean, that fight he had against is it Don Young Ma?
Yeah. Where
he stopped him and it was like long out of the way hips, and even when he level changed, his legs were nowhere to be seen. I mean, I'm leaning towards Devonte Smith just because this is a short notice fight. And my concern is that Klein's cutting hard. He's going to be cutting a lot of weight this week. Which way you
say
go?
that. I'm not sure because Devonte, like Smith, after his Achilles rupture and like coming back from it, I think that has taken. There's always this fear when you have like a big injury. You try to tell yourself that, no, now it's better because I've rehabbed and you've done all these like exercises for it that do help strengthen it and make it better. But there's always that in the back of your mind. Mm-hmm. And then when the rehab stops, the pain starts again because it's hard to keep that same, I guess, like level of movement.
Yeah. I wonder, do you know which leg it was, which ankle it was?
No, I don't know.
Because he's depending on whether it's his front foot or his back foot will depend on how it affects his movement. I mean, it could affect his movement. That's one thing to consider.
But when he came back, he did look good. He's like evolved a lot with knees and elbows, and you really have to pressure him and take the space away because if you let him, he'll like tag you, come back, and then come back with the 1-2.
Yeah.
But yeah, he does leave like a gap over his left-hand side, which he can get countered with those overhands. And if Ludwig, what he does well and what I really like, even though he's very left side dominant, like his kicks and his power side is
left hand.
Yeah,
left
it's a very left-hand side. He also sets things up really nicely, and he times like you moving away. Mm-hmm. So with his kicks and his punches, he's good at timing you going back.
Yeah.
And Devon Smith does that. He goes in, out, but back in a straight line. But both fighters kind of struggle with being smothered. And it's about like who's going to take that approach in the fight.
Well, if we look at the grappling stats, so you've got Devonte Smith is coming in with 80% takedown defense and 100% takedown accuracy. And he shoots, well, I mean, his stats for grappling are very low. He's 0.5 takedowns per 15 minutes. But, you know, he's been in the UFC a while, so he's probably shooting every other fight. But I do think that his takedown defense is going to be the key here. I think 80% takedown defense compared to Ľudovít Klein's 44% takedown accuracy is going to be what he's got to focus on here. You know, he's got to be very difficult to reach. He's got to watch moving out of range too fast, so he's not moving on to those head kicks of Klein. But I feel like Devonte Smith is going to come in with better hands in this one, and I think he's going to be able to push Klein, who's, I keep going back to it, I think he's cutting loads of weight. I'll wait to see how he's on the scales. So one guy's
too fat and the other one's cutting too much weight.
I know.
No one pleases you.
It's crazy, isn't it? It's crazy. No, I just, you know...
I like a women's magazine.
I don't mind fighters not cutting weight, but if you don't cut weight, at least be like lean.
Yeah. Don't look chubby.
Yeah. I don't.
Is it the jiggle you don't like to see?
It's the jiggle I don't like.
Is it like weird?
It's the muffin top.
But to be fair, those shorts are freaking horrible. They create a really bad body, and if the guys could please stop wearing that really tight thing that makes like the butt go in, and then you see like
you got all the lines on the shorts now. It's like all pointing to the asshole.
Yeah, it's like it's very weird, and then you have like the cup and then the lines of the cup, and it all just kind of like gives you a really long back.
Yeah. And then you got the rolls over the sides, and you got the roll over the front.
It's just like not a good look.
It's not a good look.
How do you look athletic in that?
Right, and there are some fighters on the UFC roster that are so out of shape that they should be getting less sponsorship money because of the amount of shorts they cover with their fucking stomach. Like, if you can't see the belt line, that's like 30% of the advertising. That's where especially if you're Marvin Vettori and you put your shorts on back to front. The good thing with him is he's lean enough so he can put his shorts on however he wants. You can still see the sponsorship. But no, I can get excited about a fighter for so long, and I do enjoy Oleksiejczuk's style. I can't invest in someone when I feel like there's a limitation to where they can get in this weight class. I mean, like, think about this. Oleksiejczuk's in the same weight class as Dominic Reyes and as monsters like Johnny Walker. Like 6'4", 80-inch reach. He'll look like a kid in front of those people. And you know, you put him up there at the top of the division. I mean, just look at the people that he's up against. Can you imagine him fighting Alexander Rakic? Like, it would look like something from Middle Earth. They're just not the same size.
I would imagine it because he's like down. You know? He's like, all right, let's go then.
Yeah, true. I mean, the majority of the guys that he's going to face are either the same height as him or taller than him. But
so does he cut like a lot of weight or something?
I don't think so.
He just like walks around at that, and he's just like, "That's it. I'm Lord, not the Lord. I'm Lord."
Yeah, I don't think he cuts a great deal of weight. I do think he cuts some, but not a lot.
But do you think sometimes it has to do a little bit with a division? Because, like, for example, I spoke to Omar Morales, and he was fighting at lightweight, and then he cut down to feather, and in my opinion, it took away a lot of his skill because he was already cutting so much.
But he was already lean at lightweight.
Yeah, he was like. But the reason he did it was because he saw an easier path through featherweight. So maybe Lord sees an easier path through light heavyweight. Not saying that there is, but maybe that's what he sees.
I don't know. I'd rather roll the dice at middleweight against the likes of Sean Strickland and Paulo Costa than I would at light heavyweight against the likes of Magomed Ankalaev and Dominic Reyes and Rakic. I don't know. It's just there's a point in this weight class where he's going to start to look really small against the guys he's fighting and under-conditioned compared to them as well. Like, a lot of these guys are in great shape. Like, you could shave off like 8 or 10 pounds of body fat and he could have the same weight cut as he is at light heavyweight, right?
Don't be confused. We're not talking about these guys.
No, we're not. Let's skip back.
We're talking about the other guys.
We'll switch back just to confuse. I mean, look, everybody in the sport cuts a little bit of weight. You know, even the guys that walk around pretty much on the weight. You never guarantee you're going to wake up in your weight class. You might be a couple of pounds over. But you want to be like Ľudovít Klein. He's 155 pounds. Like, if he goes up, he's going up 15 pounds. That's a big jump. So he's fighting guys who are now no longer 5'7". He's fighting guys who are a minimum of 6 foot at welterweight. So it makes sense that he's at 155. There's no way he could go lower, although there are featherweights that are taller and have got a longer reach than him, right? But then if you look at Oleksiejczuk's position, his next weight class down is 20 pounds.
Yeah.
It's a big jump. Even for the bigger guys, it's a big jump. But then you've got to, get him on a DEXA scan, test his body fat, see where he's at.
You don't have to get him on a DEXA scan.
You could just pinch.
Come on, man.
Yep, there's about 8 pounds there.
People were shitting on Cyborg, saying that she had enough body fat to lose weight. If you said that, I don't got enough bad things to say about you.
Yeah. She was rather lean at the weight class as well, but that's a whole other conversation.
So who are you going with?
I'm going with Devonte Smith in this one, although I am a big fan of Ľudovít Klein. I don't know. I think Devonte Smith, reach, height advantage, he's going to stay on the outside, he's going to sting him with his hands, he's going to be difficult to grab, and he's coming in condition because he's been in training camp.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that you agreeing with me and going Devonte Smith as well?
No, I'm going to go...
Or are you going to pick Lord Oleksiejczuk again?
No, you're the one that brought him up again. I don't actually know who brought him up again, so... Problem is with video. Okay, I'm going with Klein.
You're going with Klein. Okay, yeah. Okay.
I'm thinking enough. Kick, and then he's going to come back in, he's going to crack him with uppercuts, and then bam, bam.
Oh, he's going to use the bam, bam, bam combination.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Kick,
that makes sense.
Uppercut.
You've got to also bear in mind that Devonte Smith is coming off a TKO loss, and he has been stopped by Karma Worthy as well. Just throwing that out there.
So now you already made your pick. Too late.
Well, yeah, no, I'm
should have picked what I picked.
I'll stick with Devonte Smith. Okay, next one up. This is a really tough fight for Tim Elliott, I think. Tim Elliott against Tagir Ulanbekov. Hang on a minute, let me get the card up. So Tim Elliott, as you can see, 18-12 with 1 no contest and 14-1 for Tagir Ulanbekov. Same height, both 5'7". Ulanbekov with a 4-inch reach advantage. Quite even as far as finishers go. 2 knockouts on Ulanbekov's side, 3 on Tim Elliott's side, both with 6 wins by submission. Tim Elliott with 3 decision wins more. But, they're both as effective at stopping people as one another. But Tim Elliott's been a bit longer in the tooth. He's been in and around the game for longer. He came through the Ultimate Fighter, didn't he? To get a title shot.
No, didn't he do the tough to fight for the belt automatically?
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, that was it. DJ was the champ, and they'd run out of contenders, so they did that.
Flyweight,
the flyweight tournament, and he went the distance with DJ straight away. He's had a bit of an up and down run in the UFC. Like wins over people like Ryan Benoit, sorry, and Mark De La Rosa, Louis Smolka. They're good wins, but then every time he's kind of touched the top of the weight class, he's struggled. Brandon Royval, Askarov, Figueiredo. Coming off a decision loss to Matheus Nicolau. I don't know. I feel like Ulanbekov might be a bit too much for him. He's just very, very good everywhere, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Very good everywhere. Nice, tight, disciplined style. Keeps his arms in nice and narrow. And the thing is, that fight against Alan Nascimento, which was a split decision, was probably one of the best grappling matches in mixed martial arts I've seen. Like we talk about Makhachev and Sarukian and their wrestling match within a mixed martial arts fight. But that Nascimento fight was really, really good. And it showed not only how good Nascimento's grappling is, but also how good Tagir is.
I don't think he won that fight.
Did you not?
I did not think he won that fight.
Fucking hell, throw the controversy on the table straight away.
No, because if you're on top and you're constantly defending...
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you're constantly defending. That's it. That should be like criteria, aggressive, trying to win the fight and all of that. If you're going defend from one submission to the top, even if you're like, what are you winning? Gravity? I know there's more to it, but if you're in guard and you're sort of trying to stall the fight and constantly defend fights, even though when he was on the ground, it took him like 3 seconds to get up. Like his sweeps to other positions, to favorable positions are brilliant. They're great. The way he uses his butterfly, he like extends his legs, uses his body very well. And he's a great fighter. But in that fight, just because of how much Nascimento was attacking and going for stuff, then I feel like the only especially I think it was like in the third round, what I would give him in that round was more the fact that he was on top guard.
Yeah. I mean, I hear what you're saying. It was
maybe a draw. Maybe okay, draw. Fine.
Well, it was a split decision. I'm just going to have a quick look at the stats here.
But one was 30-27. It was like either way and then 30-27.
It all depends on the perspective of the people judging. Because so I'm literally going off UFC stats here. So total 18 strikes by Tagir against 25 for Nascimento. So he outstruck him by significant strikes. He also outstruck him by total strikes by 12, 62-74. But he was 0 of 1 takedowns, so he scored no takedowns, and he's recorded as having 2 sub attempts with only 16 seconds of control. On the flip side, you've got Ulanbekov, who came in with 4 of 5 takedowns, which is 80%. He had a submission and a reversal and 12 minutes of control. That's what UFC stats have got written down.
But what do they count control? Defending an armbar? Is that control? Because that doesn't sound like control to me. Not saying that that's what happened in the fight, but like a lot of these control from the fight that I saw, he was defending a lot of submissions that he was constantly and you see like Khabib kind of like yelling at him like, dude, pass that guard. Don't stay there and don't get like. He was kind of getting worried about the fact that he might be able to catch him in a submission, and. Yeah, maybe I would score it a draw. Maybe I just like I kind of like grappling a little bit too much, and it's making me kind of biased. But
I thought Ulanbekov won, but I understand what you're saying. I understand why you think it was a close one. Interestingly, our friend Ben Cartledge was judging it, so I'll have to have a chat with him about it.
He's gonna send me an email.
Oh, no.
You think you know, but you don't know shit.
You know what's funny? I actually think he was the one that scored it in favor of Nascimento. If I'm looking here,
there we go. That's why I like you.
So we've got a guy called an individual called Vito and an individual called Daryl Ransom. What a name! And they both scored it 28-29, which would suggest that they scored it for Ulanbekov, and Cartledge was the one that went the opposite way. So. You have an agreeing judge there with you who has my respect. So I'll have to watch it again. I mean, as far as the UFC stats go, it looks like the judges who scored it towards Ulanbekov heavily favored wrestling.
Yeah,
that's what it looks like to me.
And that's fair, but you
disagree. You like grappling, so you're going to disagree.
It's not that I like grappling. I just feel like if you're saying "oh shit" at some point in the fight, you're not controlling the fight. You're like, oh shit, I'm gonna get caught.
And he had a few oh shit moments, did he?
Yeah. Well, to speak about Tim Elliott, although he's very like chaotic, I think he has like set patterns that he just throws in, right? It's like the swinging with the punches, clinch, like tie clinch knee, and he does it very well, that judo like hip toss with the leg, and he kind of like cycles that in. So even though it looks very crazy, I think there's a lot of plan in it. There's a lot of movements that are calculated, that are drilled, and that are very hard to stop, because it kind of like battles your ego a little bit, like, oh you miss. So then you escape your game plan to kind of get at him, which I think might work well against Tagir. And he also has a very good calf kick. And since Tagir has his lead leg just so much weight on it, it might do him good. But
yeah,
I'm still going with Tagir though.
Yeah, I just, I think Tim Elliott's, he's 18 wins. He knows how to win, but he also knows how to lose at 12 losses on his record. And the look of Ulanbekov is that he's going to be a real problem at the top of this weight division when he starts to get up there. I mean, he's at number 15 at the moment, and Tim Elliott's number 13. But I could quite easily see Ulanbekov up there with the likes of Kai Kara-France and Alex Perez. And I think he's going to be very competitive with him. Whereas Tim Elliott, I always feel like, he might do something cool, but most of the time, these guys are going to be able to shut him down. Yeah. I think Tagir's got good enough basics to just really, really shut him down. Yeah. Okay.
This card is like sort of newcomers versus, not newcomers, but like new generation versus veterans. Like this is another one.
There's another one. Yeah.
Another similar record, another similar like sort of style as well.
Yep. So Brian Kelleher against Umar Nurmagomedov. So 24-12 for Brian Kelleher, 13-0 for Umar Nurmagomedov. 2 inches in height advantage, 3 inches in reach for Nurmagomedov. 1 win by TKO, 6 by submission, 6 by decision for Nurmagomedov. On the other side, 8 by TKO, 10 by submission, and 6 by decision. I think this is just a really rough night for Brian Kelleher. This might be his payback for the tweet he put out about not wanting to work at Walmart after his UFC career comes to an end. This looks like a fuck you from the matchmakers for even suggesting that you're not being paid very well. Yeah. I think the Nurmagomedov's just gonna manhandle him. I like Kelleher. I like Kelleher's guillotine, and I think that's an interesting facet to his game because he's very consistent at it. But I just don't think we're going to see Nurmagomedov get caught in something like that. He's going to be disciplined on his takedowns. He's going to be driving his head up onto his opponent's back and circling around and slamming him to the floor and just mauling him until he maybe is able to finish by rear naked choke. I'd love to give Kelleher more of a chance in this one, but I'm struggling. I really am.
I really like the way Umar fights. Like, I'm not a big fan of giant wrestling heavy, but I don't feel like he is. I feel like he just utilizes it beautifully. Like, very good timing. He kicks you, like kicks are great up the middle, but also draws you into a punch into square hips, and that's when he goes for a takedown. Mm-hmm. He kind of enjoys the striking so much that he doesn't push for the wrestling, but when it's there, he does take full advantage of it. Mm-hmm. And it's just a very smart approach in his striking on the ground to set up for rear naked chokes, to set up for any type of submission, which, I really like. Mm-hmm. I wonder how much extra boxing he's going to do, because I know, like Khabib said, I want him to introduce the Tyson style of boxing, which is really going to add to his kicking game. Because if you think like you kick and then you land kind of in a shorter pocket than you would if you just step in, because and your weight's kind of coming forward. So once it does, that style will really suit him. And I wonder how he's going to implement that, because I don't really doubt that he's going to lose this. I don't think he's going to lose. I think it's a pretty easy win for him. And I do think Brian's been a little bit like kind of pushing his luck. He like asked Conor to do it, to corner him. And then he's like, he brought something about religion into it. So that is already kind of, it's going to make him more angry. It's going to make it, I think, a little bit worse of a beating. Yeah.
Umar's last fight against Sergey Morozov, I watched it again earlier today, and Sergey put up a real tough battle in that fight. He was determined to not quit, even to the point where he went to sleep in the rear naked choke. But
with his eyes open again.
Yeah.
Like, because when we did the 271, that was what we talked about, that he got choked and then his eyes were like open.
Yeah.
Close your eyes, dude. That's weird.
Close your eyes before you get choked unconscious, just for the benefit of everybody watching.
Yeah, it looks like horrible.
I think we might see Kelleher be able to put up a good defense for the first probably 3 or 4 minutes. And I think by the end of the first round, the beginning of the second, I think Nurmagomedov is going to be on his back choking him out.
This reminds me of the fight Cody Nurmagomedov versus Stanman, Corey Stanman versus
Cody Stamen
versus what was the guy's name? It was something Nurmagomedov. That was like it's not his brother or something. It's
Saeed.
Saeed. Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. So you're going with Nurmagomedov, are you?
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty...
You should just like crop that out, like that whole part.
No,
it made no sense.
No. We'll leave that in for you guys. That's what you're saying.
See how bad I am with names. It's just horrible.
Okay, let's move on. Marina Moroz against Mariya Agapova. What are you saying about this one?
Oh, I'm excited about this one because they hate each other.
Did they really?
Yeah. So they used to train together at American Top Team, right? She came from Kazakhstan and then was training with Marina, I think, for 1.5 years. And then she was like, this is something in an interview she said, and I do know that she has trained there. But she was talking about how everybody was like nice and helpful. And then when she got assigned to the UFC, problems with Marina started. Like she started to gossip and say, which anybody, like I've met a lot of people that know her and it's always the same stories. So I don't think she's making this up. You know, she does seem to be quite like gossipy, toxic.
Right. Oh, okay. Okay.
So yeah, I think now she's at All Stars.
Okay. Oh, in Sweden?
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
Interesting.
Well, right now she's in Vegas. I think she flew out like 3 weeks before the fight just to be back in the place. But yeah, they really don't like each other. And it started to the point where she was calling her out because she was like, "You're talking so much shit about me." Like, all right, let's fight then. Let's go. So yeah.
And you were telling me the other day that girls just don't talk shit.
No, they gossip. And they like sneaky stuff behind your back, and she was just like, "Let's
That's
go."
That's a waste.
That's
Like,
way worse. That's way worse.
Put it out in the public so we can all enjoy the trash talk.
But that's not how they trash talk. They get you to say something bad, and then they say that you said something bad about them when they initiated. You know.
Yeah.
It's worse.
So you're going with Agapova, are you? I can tell you're leaning towards her.
Plus, I like her. She's gangster.
She's a bit crazy.
Yeah, I love her.
And I will say that her Tapology picture looks like it was like taken when she was at high school. And in her last couple of fights, she looks like she's bigger than Cyborg.
And she also looks like my sister. Right? Doesn't she look like my little sister?
Yeah, a little bit. I could see that.
Well, more in the Tapology picture.
Yeah, more in the Tapology picture for sure than there. So 10-2 for Agapova, 10-3 for Moroz. 1 inch height advantage for Moroz, but that's equaled by a 1 inch reach advantage for Agapova. 1 win by knockout, 5 by submission for Moroz, and 3 by knockout and 5 by submission for Agapova. Who, when she looks good, she looks really good. Sometimes she can be a bit pressured though, and that's my concern here because so if I remember right, Marina Moroz was a Ukrainian boxing coach. Yeah, that's also something worth mentioning because I actually looked where her hometown is today on the map, and it is literally right in the middle of all the chaos, and they're right near Mariupol airport, north of that, south of Kiev. So like the reason I'm mentioning it is because you got to wonder where her mind's at, like whether she's thinking about home, whether she's thinking about relatives and family there. Like that's got to be playing in as well. I would struggle to be able to concentrate if that was going on in my home country. I know, even though she does live in the US. Yeah, you know, it's. I
was told that she had like a pretty bad exit because she owed like a lot of people money, and her.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, and her husband, and like.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
he was in her corner for her debut, I think. Her husband. When she armbarred Jojo and then called out.
I don't know who her husband Joanna. Is, to be honest. Oh, yeah.
She jumped on the cage and she went, "I want to fight you." And Joanna was like, "What the fuck, you want to fight me?" And she was like, "I'm a big fan, just at some point." And she was like,
yeah,
like immediately, like, and because I was on comms and I remember looking down the line and like the whole time after that, Joanna was like, like snarling to get in there after it. She was ATT as well. That must have been a friendly training session when they showed up together.
Do you know Moroz actually trained in Russia for a bit?
Oh, did she really?
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
So
I think Agapova has got the advantage, but my concern is that she might get pushed around if Moroz starts well. Like Moroz, I was surprised that she lost to Angela Hill, to be honest. I thought she was going to have the skills to be able to beat her, but she was bullied. She was kind of pushed around a bit, and Hill was, crashing forward with combinations, which was kind of stifling Moroz. Yeah. Like she likes a much more of a kind of paced fight, like she got against Mayra Bueno Silva. Mm-hmm. Like that fight went perfect for her for the first 2 rounds, and then Silva started to put pressure on her, and that's when she started to look uncomfortable. She got cut, she got backed up.
Well, she's like, if you see Silva like training, she's kind of like also kind of like gangster, like I'm gonna like knock you out, and I'm very, very aggressive, a very aggressive style, which I was kind of surprised that I didn't see it like straight from the beginning, more like towards the 3rd round, and that's where it really shined through. So, yeah,
I think Agapova's got to start pretty quickly in this one. I think she's got to start quick. She's got to be aggressive, and she's got to try and hurt her as much as possible.
Well, she already don't like her.
Well, that's going to help, isn't it? But then if she's crashing forward too much, then she's going to be walking onto takedowns, and like. I'm not saying that she can't be competitive with Moroz on the floor, but I will say that she would go for submissions where Moroz will try and control her.
Yeah.
Like she's not going to take any risks if it hits the floor. She's going to try and, stay out of any submissions and beat her up with strikes. I don't really see her chasing any submissions. She's got arm bars, on a record very early on. But I mean, literally her first 3 wins were by armbar as well as her UFC debut. She's got 5 arm bars on her record, but I feel like it's going to be much more of a game of control and ground and pound for Moroz, whereas Agapova will chase some submissions and may well catch her, especially if she's got her hurt. Rear naked chokes all day, isn't it?
Yeah. She did talk about how Moroz would like just beat her in sparring and in grappling and in all that when she started.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
So because she had just came from Kazakhstan and was kind of like learning and yeah.
You've been using my laptop here. I'm getting adverts on Tapology from Emma Bridgewater. Advertising mugs and carved wood and stuff. Honestly.
What?
What? Yeah, exactly.
What?
So which way are you going? You taking Agapova?
I already told you,
Okay. I'm just firming up your answer, that's all. But then how long ago were they training?
I'm pretty sure it's been pretty firm the whole time.
All right. How long ago did they train together?
I don't know, like exactly when they stopped training together, but
because if she was
the problem started when she got signed to the UFC. So it must have been a while ago.
Okay, so they were training together before she joined the UFC.
Yes,
and then when she joined the UFC, then
that's
problems,
when the gossip
and then she
started.
left. Okay.
Yeah.
So she's not been in the UFC that long as well. That's my other concern. Then is if she's saying that she was losing in rounds against Moroz in the gym.
Yeah, but in the gym, you're not allowed to be gangster, are you?
I don't know. It depends what gym you go to,
yeah,
I suppose.
It's true. There's some gyms
I've been in
that
a few gangster gyms, like legit gangster gyms. Okay, yeah, I'm going the same. I'm going Agapova. I think she's more fun to watch as well, to be honest. Yeah, but I do respect Moroz's skills, and I think if she's able to establish her range early, then she might just play it calm and chip away, and then every time Agapova steps in, she'll take her down.
You can see that she's a Ukrainian boxer, you can see like the sharp, stiff movement, and like she also looks for the holes in the targets and lands beautiful straight shots and has integrated takedowns and kicks and everything. Like a very well-rounded fighter. In general. Yeah,
I mean the thing is with Moroz is it was Mayra Bueno Silva that was level changing against her up against the fence, that was trying to drive, and she was destabilizing her with hip throws and stuff. I don't know. It's an interesting one. I'm going with Agapova, but it might be a real competitive one. It might be a fight of the night if they don't like each other as well. Okay, let's move on. Negumereanu against Kennedy Nzechukwu.
Yes.
So 11-1 for Negumereanu and 9-2 for Nzechukwu. 6'5". This is what I'm talking about with this division. I mean, even Negumereanu would look big in comparison to Oleksiejczuk, I think. I know they're the same height, but he's got a 78-inch reach. Nzechukwu still going to make him look small, though. 6'5", 83-inch reach. That's ridiculous.
I don't know how he makes that weight.
I know. So which way are you going on this one?
Well, you never marinate the sauce is not correct. Because last time I said that and somebody said you don't marinate sauce. You don't marinate the chicken. Is that better? So yeah, I will say Nick is a bit of a dirty fighter. Mm-hmm. A bit of a very dirty fighter. Like, if he can get away with, like, grabbing the fence or doing anything, like shots to the back of the head, anything, he will do it. And if the referee tells him, he will keep doing it and not stop. Yeah. And he can also take, like, a pretty solid punch. Yeah. He walks forward, like, walks his opponent down, is able to take a shot to, like, land one. Nice takedowns, like double unders to high amplitude takedowns. But I don't think he'll be able to do it against him because he's just such a large man. Yeah. So he will have to adjust some stuff and does have 3 submission wins. Ooh. Are you going to fix my mic?
I am. You're going to have to talk into it a bit more. Jamie's been thinking the same thing. I can feel it. Okay. I think Nzechukwu.
My train of thought is gone now. It's gone. A blank.
I think Nzechukwu is going to tough it out in that first round. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a similar kind of performance that we saw against Danilo Marques, where he takes a beating and he hangs in there. And there's a few points when you think, okay, this fight's going to be over in a minute because he looks kind of unstable. And then the next thing, he's got this new surge of energy and he just starts marching forward.
Well, like against eyebrow advantage, Carlos Ulberg.
There you go.
Same thing. Like
eyebrow advantage. That's his new nickname. Yeah, exactly same thing. Like, he takes everything that you can throw at him and then he's still there at the end of it. And he does
cover up really well. I just think he kind of relies. Yeah, just relies a little bit too much. Yeah, and he kind of tries to like elbow your punches it's kind of like a cactus guard. Mm-hmm. I don't know if that's like an actual thing, but like when you punch him, he tries to like put his elbow in the way or like put himself in uncomfortable positions for you to like hurt yourself hitting him, which. Yeah, is good against any opponent. Yeah. And the fact that he can take a beating and then come back and still get you.
You've got to think that Negumereanu is going to try and take him down and sub him.
Yeah.
Like, he's got a lot of first round TKOs. He's got a second round armbar. He's got Rinnicky chokes on his record. He's got a slam to punches for a TKO. That's got to be a typo, though. It says a Bravo choke. It's got to be a Bravo, hasn't it? Oh. Last fight before he came into the
Johnny
UFC,
Bravo.
RXF. Yeah. Okay, I am going for Nzechukwu. I really don't know, honestly, and I'm not too bothered either way because I don't know. I mean, these guys are so young in their career. I mean, they've only had a few fights, really.
Predominantly, you're not really bothered.
I'm not too bothered. I really hardly ever care who wins. But I can see Nzechukwu like just being too durable for everything that Negumereanu throws at him.
After his coach like
yelled at him.
Dude, it's so intense. Like in the corner, the yelling he gets. I think he just goes out there and throws punches because he's scared of his corner. He's like, I don't want what comes back to me. But yeah. He has great tempo punches as well. But I mean, like, he touches you and picks the shot where he goes hard. Which is also why opponents kind of gas themselves out punching him because they're all like big punches, which I feel like Nick will kind of use. Like, all big punches, I'm just going to kill you. Mm-hmm. But with the tempo shots, it kind of helps you see an opening and then take more advantage of like what's coming. So, yeah, Kennedy.
Yeah, me too. Oh, there we go. The screen's been doing so well. It's the first time it switched off. Okay, this is a banger. I think I talked about this fight on the 2022 preview show, didn't I? That did at the start of the year. Marina Rodriguez against Yan Xiaonan. 15-1-2 for Rodriguez, 13-2 with 1 no contest for Yan Xiaonan. 1-inch height advantage for Rodriguez, 2-inch reach advantage. 6 by knockout, 1 by submission, 8 by decision. Yan Xiaonan 5 by knockout, none by submission, and by decision. I think Marina Rodriguez is going to win this, and I'm excited for this fight. I like both of their style, but I think her Muay Thai is more meaningful.
Yeah.
And if you watch Xiaonan, she's very quick and she's very snappy and she makes loads of noise, but I don't necessarily know that she's going to be able to really hurt Rodriguez. I think she might be able to outpoint her if Rodriguez gives her the time and the space, but I just don't expect her to be able to really do any damage to Rodriguez. I think she's going to be able to walk her down and beat her up and make her look a little bit ragged, a little bit kind of flustered. And if Rodriguez is able to get a Thai clinch on her, she's going to need the shit out of her face.
Yeah, but Jan throws really nasty flurries when you Thai clinch her. That's something that I noticed. Like, other fighters have tried to grab her and she just kind of goes until you let go. Mm-hmm. But Marina kind of also knows what she's doing more than the opponents that she has faced. Yeah. So the context of where she grabs the Thai clinch and how she grabs it is very different. Mm-hmm. And also the elbows that she has is absolutely disgusting. She will press you up against the fence and then almost put her fingers in your eye to the point where you're like this, but it's really hard to move against it because of where the hands are. Also in grappling, this happens. Well, sometimes this happens to me where I'm going with somebody and their hands are just in a position where if I move too quickly, I might end up just hurting myself through that, through eye pokes or something. Yeah, they're beautiful. I love them. I love how aggressive she is. I love how she walks you down, how she kind of doesn't care, has a tight right hand with nasty knockout power. Mm-hmm. And she stopped Amanda Ribas twice.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Yeah. I think the fighter that's going to be able to beat Rodriguez is someone that can take her down.
Yeah, well, Carlo Esparza, yeah, exactly. That type of fighter. But Carlo Esparza, completely, dominated Jan when it came to that. But wasn't able to do the same with Marina Rodriguez. Mm-hmm.
And then, her last two wins, unanimous decisions over Waterson and Dern. I think they're good wins. I think they're solid wins, and I think she's shown improvement since the Carla Esparza fight,
which was only a split.
Yeah, split decision, not a TKO from ground and pound in the second like it was for Yan Xiaonan. Good wins on her record, but all decisions. She's not stopped anybody since 2016, when she stopped So Hee Lim, who had never had a fight before. Yeah, I think Rodriguez. She's close to the top of the division for me as far as technical ability all round, and I think she also knows where she's good as well, and she's not going to try and play ranges where she's going to be overextended. They're 3 and 4 in the division, so there's not much at play. The only difference is that, Carla Esparza's above both of them at number 2. Rodriguez at number 3 and Yan Xiaonan's at number 4. And the reason why they're placed in that order is because of the difference of the result against Esparza. Rodriguez had a better time against Esparza, and that was a longer time ago as well. Yeah. And she's improved since then. Yan Xiaonan's got 75% takedown accuracy, but I don't think she's going to have a lot of success because once she takes her down, she's going to be dealing with elbows on the floor off her back. She's going to be dealing with Rodriguez scrambling back to her feet. And Yan Xiaonan's never had a win by submission. If she's taking her down, it's because she's trying to win a decision. And
that's something that I've noticed kind of with a lot of the Chinese fighters. They'll be very great physically and their striking is very much based on how hard they work, if that makes sense. How much the high pace that they keep, but so they do struggle when they're on the ground more than...
Yeah, I think skill sets are catching up. Obviously Dean's over at the Performance Institute, and as they're recruiting from around China, the one thing that they're not finding is a real strong grappling skill set. There's a lot of people coming from different styles of Kung Fu and Wushu and Sanda, and Sanda's got, grappling elements, clinch and takedowns, but there's not a great deal on the floor.
Yeah.
So bringing up the grappling skills of the Chinese fighters is a priority of the Performance Institute. And I think Yan Xiaonan's a good example of a really strong fighter from China that has got a typical Chinese skill set of, very fast accurate combinations, of very slick striking skills, and a very high pace. But then the facets in their game where they struggle is where, when they get grounded. Now, on the flip side, I don't think Rodriguez is going to try and take her down. I think she's going to try and Muay Thai her all the way through. So that does give Yan Xiaonan time to use those wushu skills that that she is effective at. And she might be able to outpoint her if Rodriguez is not careful. But there's just a viciousness.
She has a good kick as well.
Yeah, she does.
Kick and
that side kick to the midsection.
Yeah, or like a high kick. And then the calf kick as well to off balance the opponent, and then comes in heavy with flurries. She does tend to like kick, and when she lands, almost like in a set position to go. So it's like kick, land, bah, bah.
Yeah.
Yeah, just goes with the strikes. And gives you a deterrent for everything you throw at her. Like if you throw, she's going to throw like 10 at you. So, which I don't think a lot is going to
I don't think it's
stop
gonna.
Marina.
Yeah, I just don't think it's gonna hurt her. I don't see her being able to really hurt her. I think she might outpoint her, but
I don't see it happening.
No, I don't.
Plus, she's coming off two main events.
Yeah,
she did
2 main events, 3 fight win streak.
Always fixes her shorts as well. She's like beating the shit out of girl, and then like tucks her shorts.
You gotta do the Muay Thai little roll.
But like, every time she's kind of like, it's like, yeah.
Okay.
Imagine, take a shot every time she fixes her shorts. You'll be drunk.
Creating drinking games now.
You'll be drunk by round 2.
Okay, we're both going Rodriguez, are we?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
You pick different people. I feel like we picked the same person, and we're on to the main card
sometimes
now.
you're right, and other times you're not. Yeah,
okay, every time.
Whether you pick right
every
or
time.
not.
The 2 times that we've done this, I have scored more right than you have. So.
Yeah, but that's only because I'm picking against you, just because you complain if I don't. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I want to win. It's hard to win when we pick the same people.
Okay. Next up, Jalin Turner against Jamie Mullarkey. 11-5 for Jalin Turner, 14-4 for Jamie Mullarkey. 3-inch height advantage and a 3-inch reach advantage for Jalin Turner. Both, again, very similar in their ability to finish their opponents. 8 by TKO for Turner, 9 for Mullarkey. 3 wins by submission for both fighters. The whole thing around Jalin Turner is his height and reach and how well he uses it. You know, like if you look back to that the Brock Weaver fight, was it Brock Weaver? Like he's knocking him down right on the end of his punches. He goes a long right hook and then he pings him with a straight left. And if he had my reach, he probably would have missed that last punch. You know, because he would have just fallen short. But this is where he's incredibly dangerous, I think. And the times when he's taking people down, the times when he's submitting people, it's not because he's taking them down. It's because he's beating them up and they're falling.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like Brock Weaver again. You know, he knocked him down before he choked him. Medic was just under so much pressure up against the fence and already rocked. I'm a big fan of Jalin Turner. I think he's a very exciting developing star. Mullarkey has got that dog in him though, and that's what we've seen in some of his fights, and that's my concern with Jalin Turner here, is that Mullarkey might just put it on him and not give him the space to use his reach, you know?
Plus, that has to definitely be an eyebrow advantage. His eyebrows are like, you could, especially in the video, man, they're impressive.
Yeah. Eyebrow advantage.
They're impressive eyebrows.
Is this a statistic that we need to add on to the tail of the tape?
You know what? I think so, yeah.
Which fighter does have the eyebrow advantage? Jalin Turner, I think, in this one.
Yeah, look, it's like wisdom eyebrows.
Always wisdom eyebrows.
Yes, okay. There's different types of eyebrows.
So
definitely has wisdom eyebrows.
So how do you describe Jamie Mullarkey's eyebrows then?
I just said it, wisdom eyebrows.
Oh, wisdom. Oh, I just thought you were still complimenting Jalin Turner.
I wasn't talking about him.
So it's Jamie Mullarkey that's got the eyebrow advantage?
Yeah.
No, I don't see it.
He has like cool eyebrows.
Does he?
Yeah, they're like white and then like really hairy and then like point up like a dragon.
He looks like one of the old Kung Fu masters out of like 36 chambers.
Exactly.
Okay.
That mixed with Corey Sandhagen. He's a Corey Sandhagen love child. Although, Corey, please never shave again.
Yeah, he shaved his head and his beard and everything, doesn't he? He looks like an egg.
That was really bad.
Yeah.
All right, so...
Tell me about this one then.
I really like Jalin Turner.
Okay.
I really like Jalin Turner, but I feel like Jamie's really tough. Yeah, Maybe
is
maybe it's
incredibly.
with the name Jamie. Maybe it comes with it.
He
And
trains
he has
with,
really good like tie like clinch, tie knees, tie elbows, and mixes up his shots, goes to the body, and then like comes up top, which I think, will be great against Jalin because he's gonna have to like vary his strikes. You know, I think failed second time 2-0.
So you're picking Jamie Mullarkey then, are you?
I think so, just because I find him to be really, really tough, and maybe if you can outskill him, he'll kind of like out tough you.
Yeah.
He did have like a fight of the night in his debut versus Brad Riddell, which
amazing,
was it was. But that's his debut, you know. He's like he's only getting better, and another guy that he fought that was really coming up was Devonte Smith, who's also on the card. Karma Worthy, another opponent that had a lot of momentum coming up against him, and he was just, it kind of like makes him angry and maybe makes him train more and makes his skill set come out a lot better. Yeah.
You know what's interesting is Mullarkey's got a loss on his record, a first round TKO loss to Alexander Volkov. Volkanovski, the featherweight champion.
Yeah.
He's a savage. Yeah, Mullarkey trains with Ross Pearson as well, I think. Good boxing, good footwork, very, very, very tough. I don't know. I feel like Turner might be able to catch him though. I feel like Mullarkey, we know he's tough because we've seen him have to be tough in his fights. And I think Jalin Turner's got quite slick striking. I think he makes the most of his reach.
Yeah, he does.
And I can see him clipping Mullarkey and hurting him and not thinking for a second to try and finish up, to get the TKO finish. He's going to jump straight on his back like he did against the last couple of opponents. I think Jalin Turner's going to win by rear naked choke again.
He has a lot of power, and he doesn't look like he needs to, you know, like some fighters kind of just force it out, and he doesn't look like he's trying to generate a lot of power, but he does generate a lot of power. Bit of a side note that I thought was like pretty cool-ish. Maybe like not cool, but whatever. Jalin Turner was fighting a guy named Joshua Coulibaly.
Yeah, Coulibaly.
Yeah, that injured his ankle, kind of like Jeremiah Welsh did in the previous pay-per-view fight.
Yeah, and he was fighting up a weight class as well because he'd taken that on short notice. Yeah. Coulibaly was good. He just looked really small in there against Turner. Really small.
Yeah,
I felt kind of bad for him because
and
they were he is huge, and they were talking about it in his in the build up to the fight week as well. They were like yeah, we know this is going to be a tough one, but we're in the door now. We're in the UFC now, so I'll take a loss to this guy to then get back to my weight class and start winning. I'm going Jalin Turner.
Okay, I'll go Jamie.
Okay.
Eyebrow advantage. Come on, don't let me down.
Okay, Sergey Spivak against Greg Hardy. 13-3 for Spivak, 7-4 with 1 no contest for Greg Hardy. 2-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage for Greg Hardy. 6 wins by stoppage, none by submission, 5 wins by stoppage, and 6 by submission for Spivak. I think this is going to be all about how Greg Hardy's takedown defense looks and how long he can rely on being a really strong, powerful athlete to stay on his feet before he starts to get tired. Because Spivak just mauls people up against the fence. He's very, very good at just that floating top game where they constantly feel like they're carrying a heavyweight and they're feeling pressured, and he's beating them up and he's chipping away at them and trying to expose that arm triangle. And for me, Greg Hardy is one of the, he's one of the interesting problems in the heavyweight division, given the fact that he's such a huge individual. I mean, there's an interview on Full Reptile. You can see me sitting next to him, and honestly, I look like fucking Bilbo Baggins. It's ridiculous. Like I even look back and I think to myself, did we play a perspective trick here? But the punch bag I was sitting on further. Honestly, it was just he's huge. He's a massive individual, and he's a gamer. He knows how to compete. He's not had the best of run in the UFC. He's a bit up and down, but
he did sign with 3-0 though.
Exactly.
It's really hard when you go to the UFC and you're kind of learning as you go. You don't have a set skill set, especially when you didn't kind of evolve with the UFC. The UFC is set already, and then you came because a lot of people had already had their eyes on the prize, and since he was an NFL player, it puts you in this weird spot because a lot of eyes are on you based on previous career or any type of fame, really. And a lot of people want the fight because it elevates. It kind of like can jumpstart their notice or their fame and stuff. So people just come to take his head off. He does have a good what do you call it? Like a snap up jab that seems to catch his opponents.
Yeah,
and
stands
really
real heavy
quick.
on his lead leg and
man, goes for it.
Great athlete, really, really strong, powerful athlete, and he's got to lean on that in this fight because, like, Spivak will use technique to maul him. He'll drown him if Greg Hardy's not able to hurt him, and he's got to do it early. You know, you got to think Spivak's coming off that first round stoppage to Tom Aspinall, and Aspinall just starched him. He jumped on him. He was far too aggressive for him. And if I'm Greg Hardy, I'm thinking, I really don't want to see my stool. I really don't want to go back to the stool at the end of the first round.
So you don't get a USADA approved.
yeah. There should be even no conversation about inhalers and stuff in the corner because if I'm Greg Hardy, I'm going for a first round stoppage because the longer it goes, the worse it gets.
I don't even know how that happened. They don't even let you bring your own water in the UFC. Like, you can't bring your own, like, pretzels. Yeah. They, like, check you to see if you don't have any snacks or anything. It's just... It
would have been even funnier, though, if he'd have pulled a pretzel out between rounds and had a munch on that instead. At least there'd have been some more confusion. Like, people know you're like, oh, dude, you can't do that. You can't do that. But pretzel? I mean, salt, carbohydrates... I mean,
yeah, but it would be like weird to chew with a mouth guard. I'm thinking about this too much.
You've tried to eat a pretzel with a mouth guard in, have you? No wonder you have to keep using that cleaner stuff on your mouth guard. Jesus. Okay. I'm going Spivak.
Yeah.
I would like to see Greg Hardy starch him in the first round, though, just because he's got a cool last name. However,
he is also, like, not... women, I'm not going to go for it.
I think Spivak's going to polar bear him up against the fence.
Controversy into this podcast.
I don't know the story behind that. I don't know the story behind it.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
No.
What I think about, like, Hardy's, like, style, though, so, although he has really powerful, like, a right hand, right overhook that, I mean, if it catches you, you're out. It does also kind of go past the center line a bit too much. And Spivak kind of draws you into this exchange where he capitalizes on the, like, uppercuts and like, overhooks and tries to see the openings and make you miss to then kind of, like, make you pay. But then if Greg Hardy's able to sort of, like, cuff him, because he kind of does this, like, cuffing hook that draws you into an uppercut, kind of, like, feeds you, while he tries to come in for a takedown, that could be very dangerous. But no, I'm going for Spivak.
Spivak, yeah, me too. Okay, let's move on. This is an interesting one, this next one. A couple of meme muggers here, look at that. So you got Kevin Holland against Alex Oliveira. Now, this is Kevin Holland's debut at welterweight, is it not? Yes. His last one was Kyle Daukaus. That was the accidental headbutt. This is an interesting move because I've always felt like Kevin Holland would do better if he took it more seriously. And I feel like sometimes he's like, he wants to win, but he also doesn't want to be seen to be struggling to lose.
Yeah.
Right? So, like, at the point when the fight starts to slip away from him, it then kind of becomes a bit like, oh, you know, I'm just here to have a laugh and let me throw some kung fu skills out there. Like, him moving to welterweight, for me, it shows that he's trying to find a way to be better, right? Like in his fight against who was it? Derek Brunson, where he's talking to Khabib as the fight was going on. Like that for me just got annoying to watch because there are so many people that would want to be in that position trying to win that fight in the UFC, and he made himself look a bit silly.
Yeah.
Like, because we know he's got good skills. We know he's got really interesting striking skills, very unpredictable. We know he's great on the floor as well. And he's coming down to a weight class against someone that's just a bit of a wild man himself. Like Alex Oliveira was the guy that welcomed, what's his name, into Shavkat Rakhmonov. You know, like they kind of use him to test the new guys in the division because they know, I mean, you know, 22-11-1 with 2 no contests. He's had a lot of fights. He doesn't really care how the fight goes as long as he's having a damn good time. And I think Kevin Holland is gonna really be able to show people what he's fully capable of at welterweight. Like 6'3" compared to 5'11". Alex Oliveira used to be a lightweight. That's worth bearing in mind. 81-inch reach compared to 76. If Kevin Holland decides, right, for the next 2 years, I am focused entirely on this welterweight division and I am going to put everything into it, I've got him as a top 5 contender.
Yeah.
Genuinely think he's that dangerous. My only question is at what point does his mental state check out? Like, at what point does he go, oh, I'm not going to finish this in the first round. I'll just kind of, I'll coast and I'll chat to the people outside the cage, and I don't want to see any more of that. I want him to take it real serious, and I want him to put it on his opponents because I think he's got the skills to.
I think it might be a little bit. Sometimes we don't want to fail because we think like we didn't. I don't know. It's this weird thing between working hard enough and not having the talent, and then I wasn't like born with it or whatever, or I didn't work hard, and that kind of becomes like an ebb and flow on people's mentality, especially when they're competing. You just kind of like when you have like that sort of excuse in your head, it's almost like a nicer pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Because you don't feel inadequate.
Yeah, because he's given up before he's beaten.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, I didn't even try hard, or like, yeah, but whatever, but you're boring, or you're this or you're that, and that. With his cut, I do think the thing is, like, he's used that to help build him up as a brand, if that makes sense. Like, a lot of eyes are on him, and all those things have helped him in his career in the fact that, like, people really like when he fights or look up to seeing him fight. So he's already got that attention. So if he can just use that and the losses to kind of bolster with everything else and just spring up, he has just, like, a great opportunity. And also, Alex is coming off, like, quite a few losses right now. Three straight losses.
Yeah. Guillotine choke against Rakhmonov. Randy Brown with the one-arm rear naked choke. And then a decision against Nico Price. I think Kevin Holland's going to look really good in this. I think this is a fight that's set up for him to be introduced to the welterweight division. And I think that, Alex Oliveira is one of those interesting kind of wild cards that you can throw in because you know he's going to give someone a hard time if they let him. But I think as long as Holland comes in focused and he's on his game,
he has a lot of power as well.
Yeah.
Didn't he knock out like Karma Worthy or something?
I think he did. His striking skills generally are very unorthodox. It's difficult for people to read him.
Sorry, Buckley.
Yes,
that's the one I was talking about.
And he was using like back fists and ridge hands and stuff in that.
But like barely touched him, and he went back like nasty, as well as with Jacare.
Yeah.
He was like on the bottom, and just touched him with the right hand, and went like. Yeah, he can generate a lot of power. And imagine, like, in this division where it's going to be harder to take him down and kind of grind him out because he's bigger.
Yeah, I mean, that shot he knocked out Jacare with, it's very rare that you see someone get knocked out from bottom position. Yeah. I'm going with Kevin Holland.
Yeah, I am as well.
I think this is a new beginning for his career, and I think as a welterweight, he's going to be a real problem. Okay. Oh, man, this is a good one. The wrong way. Another fight like you were talking about. Look at the records. 22-10 for Edson Barbosa, 14-1 for Bryce Mitchell.
They're almost like identical, all of them. 13-0, 14-1, for like 20-something, 10-something.
Oh, as soon as you get to 10 losses into the UFC, you're practically useless. You're like a disposable commodity to throw in there against these up-and-comers. I'm going to find this really hard to pick against Edson Barbosa, but I'm going to. I think Barbosa's got wicked striking skills, and I think if he's got space and range, he's one of the most dangerous people in this weight class or at 155. I've just been incredibly impressed with Bryce Mitchell's ability to calmly close distance. He uses that nice little hop side kick to the midsection. He's not in a rush to get the fight to the floor, but as soon as he's there, people will just look out of their depth.
Yeah.
I mean, they just like Charles Rosa is no joke on the floor. He's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt trained by ATT. He was in an arm triangle and a twister and then back to an arm triangle in the first round. Like Bryce Mitchell is consistently finding twister positions, which shows you the level of his striking, the level of his grappling, because it's not an accidental submission to find yourself in. You can find yourself have a few guillotines on your record because you keep attacking them. Taking someone's back and beating them up, eventually you're probably going to add a few rear naked chokes to your record. But a twister's
Isn't he the
different.
only one that has a twister?
No.
Or like one of the...
Korean Zombie got a twister in his debut against Leonard Garcia.
Look at that.
I know.
MMA encyclopedia over here.
The reason I remember that is because the fight with Korean Zombie and Leonard Garcia in WEC was a war. It was just a wild fight.
Okay, but technically that was WEC.
No, you're not listening. That was his first fight against him. When he was in WEC, Korean Zombie and Leonard Garcia fought, and that was what made Korean Zombie famous, was the WEC fight. Because they were both swinging hands down, both getting rocked and bloodied. He came into the UFC and they matched him against Leonard Garcia in his debut because they're like, this is going to be a banger. We'll get a rematch that was like the first one, and he took him down and twisted him straight away. So it was like everyone was excited. Everyone was wearing the Korean Zombie shirts. I even think it might have been on that big show in Canada. I don't remember when it was, but I remember being there. And it was just like the whole vibe was, Korean Zombie is a wild man. It's going to be a brawl. And he showed technical prowess on the ground. It was a beautiful thing to watch. And of course, Joe Rogan's losing his shit. I think Eddie Bravo was working in the truck at the time. He's losing his shit. Yeah. A twister's a really interesting submission because most of the time, if you find yourself in that position, you could have probably chosen to attack the back and get the rear naked choke. So it's an option to take a twister. It's almost like a bragging right to be the guy with the twisters, like OSP with his Von Flue chokes. You know, he's kind of owned that submission. Bryce Mitchell's doing the same thing. I'm calling him to win by twister. And
he got a submission of the year, I think, as well with that twister.
Got to with a twister. It's just,
it was beautiful.
It's a really nice submission. I'll have to break it down at some point so people understand the technical aspects of it. But basically what you're doing is you put in the reason it's called a twister is because you put in a twist through this person's spine. So you twist in their lower body one way and their upper body the other. And what you'll notice in the Charles Rosa fight is that there's a real battle to get his arm under Charles Rosa's head. Like Eddie Bravo's got a little move that he does where he rocks people to create a bit of space, and then he'll go around the back of their head and then you're cranking across. So you're twisting the head over the back of the spine. It's a horrible position to get caught in. I have been there a couple of times myself, training at 10th Planet, of course. I think he's going to be all over him on the floor. I think Barbosa's slick, but as soon as it hits the floor,
coming down a little bit.
He is a little bit.
This is kind of like a passing of the torch.
There's a lot of that. There's
a lot of like testing of that in this card, I feel.
You know, interestingly, Bryce Mitchell, the loss on his record was, well, no, sorry. The loss on his record is an exhibition match against Brad Katona.
Technically, he doesn't have a loss on his record.
Yeah, technically he doesn't. I wonder why that makes no sense. Okay. Brad Katona's fighting for the belt in Brave on their next event, Brave 57, I think it is. Brad Katona's a very good fighter. He's no longer in the UFC, unfortunately, but he'll be probably picking up a Brave title if he has a good performance. I think Thug Nasty's going to do this. I hate to pick against Edson Barbosa, but I was just so impressed with what he did against Fili and against Rosa. He's going to be improving constantly, and like you said, Barbosa's on that downturn. Yeah.
Plus, I didn't really like the way he looked versus Chikadze.
No.
That's the only, like, if it wasn't for that last fight against Chikadze, I'd probably say yeah, but that exhibition match rear naked choke leads me to believe that maybe Edson Barbosa might pull off a submission. But considering how he looked against Giga, because I think Giga even like went for a submission during the fight as well, and like was pretty close, but didn't get it, obviously.
I think Mitchell subs him. I think Mitchell subs him first round. Like the other thing as well, Barbosa, I always thought if he's going to move a weight class, he'd go up. Like, I know he's not massive for a welterweight, 5'11", 75-inch reach, and considering how lean he was when he was at 155, the fact that he went down a weight class is as surprising as Jose Aldo cut into bantamweight for me. I don't know what that's taken out of him, especially being 36 years old. You know, you can't keep doing that to yourself. Yeah, I hate to pick against him because I'm a big fan, but Bryce Mitchell, I think he's going to do it.
So is he going to have like the camo Venom shorts?
I don't know what's happening with that. I'm not sure. They've taken all the.
His ads are so funny.
Oh, they are.
The car sales ads are hilarious.
Yeah, they are.
I love it.
Okay, let's move. You're going Bryce Mitchell as well, right?
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Ooh.
Yeah. So I've done a war room on this one and the other one. So if you haven't checked them out, do that. Immediately after the podcast, and give us a like and a subscribe. Why not? Rafael dos Anjos against Rafael Fiziev. I kept fucking up the R's in this last war room. I was Rafael. I didn't know which one was which. I just kept throwing R's and hers out there.
Why didn't you just say RDA?
Well, I did after a little while, but you've got to introduce them properly. Rafael dos Anjos against Rafael Fiziev.
Yeah.
Fiziev.
Oh no.
I know. Everyone says it different. I think it's Fiziev, but I'm not 100% sure. I think I was calling him Fiziev in his UFC debut when he got stopped. But anyway. 30-13. Again, it's another one of those records, isn't it? 30, and it's same with the main event as well. Crazy. 30-13 for RDA compared to 11-1 for Fiziev. Both at the same height. 1 inch reach advantage for Fiziev. 7 wins by knockout, 1 by submission, 5 by knockout, and 10 by submission for RDA. So, of course, Fiziev is a wicked striker. He's got amazing takedown defense. RDA is former champ, all-rounder, great grappling, great Muay Thai. My thought is that over 3 rounds, Fiziev is going to really give him a hard time for 10 minutes, and then he's going to start to slow down a little bit like he did against Bobby Green. But this is 25 minutes, isn't it? They've extended this because it was supposed to be the main event last week, which gives a massive advantage to RDA. And the good thing is that I do want to see Fiziev over 5 rounds, but I don't want him to get mauled by someone like RDA over 5 rounds until I kind of know he's got the conditioning for it. And Bobby Green, they weren't working really, really hard in that fight. It was fiery and back and forth, but if you add grappling pressure into that, if you add takedown defense into that, if you add a guy that used to be a welterweight up until recently into that, my concerns for Fiziev start to grow. And I don't know. RDA is just one of those stalwarts of the division that you can put him up against anybody, and most likely he's going to take him to a decision. You can beat him and bloody him and almost have him out of there, and he's going to keep pushing. Like Leon threw everything at him, caught him with really, really clean shots, and he was still standing there at the end of the fight. I don't know whether Fiziev can do enough in the first 10 minutes to really, really damage him enough to get the finish. And that's where RDA starts to take over in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Yeah, I think. But if it does go to a decision, I'd call it like first 3 rounds to Fiziev and then the last 2 to RDA. So even if it does go to a decision, I don't think unless Dos Anjos stops him, which most likely would be on the ground with some sort of submission, then I think Fiziev can do just enough to, if it does go to a decision, to win, because he has like nasty kicks.
Yeah,
I love him. I love him. The switch lead kick, they're nasty and kind of like lands and generates a lot of power, but also a lot of torque with his punches and his shots, and that makes him very dangerous. And then he draws you in to a check left hook, and all of his striking is beautiful. And the people that he has faced, they've also been good like strikers. Other than that loss that he has, which I mean,
Mustafayev, yeah. But that was honestly, I remember going into that fight week, and the whole energy around him was that he was this special athlete that was just signed to the UFC, and there were so many people that were talking about him because he'd been training in Thailand. Like, word travels fast in those gyms because there's a lot of high level pros there, and I just don't think he expected Mustafayev to be that lethal in the first round. I mean, Mustafayev's a dangerous individual, but a spinning back
huge
kick,
as well.
He is big.
He struggled to like make weight a few times, and
yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things that, it's going to haunt him because that's what should have happened for him in his debut.
Yeah.
He's the as far as everyone's concerned, is the world-class striker. And I think we've seen that in his last couple of fights, particularly against Brad Riddell with that wheel kick.
That was so beautiful.
It was lovely, wasn't it?
He set him up to time. He timed his kick, and especially where he was going in
into the corner.
Yeah, into the corner where it's just...
Yeah. But I think the best work for him would be to fight RDA how he did Moicano. Because so if you think Moicano's he's quite stationary. He doesn't move particularly. He's got quite a kind of plodding stance, and he will move side to side and back and forth, but he won't move at pace.
Yeah.
He won't move at speed. He's quite consistent in his rhythm, and the reason why Fiziev was causing him so many issues is because he's drifting from one stance to the next. He's rushing into range with 2 or 3 shots, and then he's moving away again before Moicano is able to gather himself to counter. And then the finish, if you think about that, the what was it? Left hook to the body, right hand over the top, and then a long left hook. Imagine if he's pushing RDA back and forth in those first couple of rounds. RDA will keep giving ground and then moving back in, giving ground and moving back in, or he'll stay there and try and cover everything, which makes it even more dangerous. But then, see, at some point something's going to get through, and that's where we're going to see what RDA looks like at this. He's 37. He's had 43 fights. Fiziev moves at a pace and a speed that RDA is probably not going to be used to, having been a welterweight recently. And the other thing is, well, RDA's solid in his stance. He's southpaw, always southpaw. Fiziev switches constantly, and that's going to give him a lot of advantages against RDA. And my question is, where does it run out, though? And it started to run out towards the end of the Bobby Green fight. He started to look tired. And I'm just, my thought is that RDA is able to take an absolute beating. So unless Fiziev wins the first 3 rounds pretty solidly, you can't bank on a decision. I think he's got to try and really hurt him in the first round or 2. Get a 10-8 round, Because then, if he does find himself in the 4th round with RDA trying to take his back up against the fence, at least in the back of his mind, he doesn't have to rush and panic and scramble out of positions where RDA is most likely going to arm triangle him. Yeah. I mean, that's his move, isn't it? Neil Magny, Kevin Lee takes him down, puts himself in a mount position, beats them up and forces them to reach, and then it's arm triangles all day. And we were talking about it, the little wedge that he uses with his knee. I talk about it on the War Room. You can check it out there. That's the position. When RDA gets on top of you, that's when Fiziev's going to start to look like he's really struggling.
But if you think about the amount of people, because he trains at Tiger Muay Thai, right? Mm-hmm. So the amount of people that come in with sort of like a similar, a similar style to RDA, because RDA has a very kind of like good fundamentally set style. Yeah. It's like, it's good wrestling, it's just good all around, good basics all around.
Yeah. He's the lighter weight Glover Teixeira.
Yeah, yeah. But he's also like coming down, and Glover Teixeira was kind of like going up in his trajectory.
He's matured a bit later in his game as Glover Teixeira, but RDA's already been at the top of the
difference.
tree. Yeah, exactly.
Different weight classes, different maturity levels, and different strength. You get a little bit more of like an old man strength with bigger weight,
for sure.
I feel.
Yeah. Although I will say RDA looked like he had old man strength against Neil Magny. So sometimes the most telling thing after a fight is the expression on the loser's face. And like Neil Magny stood up, kind of eyes wide, put his hands on his hips, and the look on his face was, what the fuck just happened?
That fight was like crazy though. It was like a kick that threw him off balance, and then this, and that happened, and it was kind of like a snowball back for a Neil Magny. It wasn't a very like, I guess, a fight that he felt like he fought in it. I'm like, oh, we fought and we battled, and then you caught me. It was kind of like,
just got ran over. He just got ran over. But then, you look at the Kevin Lee fight for RDA, and that was a similar finish, but a different build up to it, where he was able to wear Kevin Lee down. And it got to the stage where it was 4th round and he's in mount. And now Kevin Lee's starting to react, unfavorably for him, reaching his arms out into positions where he's going to get arm triangled. Like, Fiziev's got excellent takedown defense.
That overhook he has, and
he just like flies away from it, doesn't he?
Yeah,
like it's almost like Conor
all
does.
the way back and just nothing. It's like what?
It's almost like the strength that he has on his overhooks and on his whizzes is almost the same as how Conor's is. When people level change into him, and he whizzes so hard, he like floats away from them.
Mm-hmm.
And I said this in the war room as well. Like, his takedown offense is 95%, but find me that 5%. Because he's, as far as I can tell, he's been taken down twice and never controlled. Like, people can't hold him down. Who was it that took him down? So we've got so here we go. So after he's lost to Magomed Mustafayev, he came back and fought Alex White over 3 rounds. It went the distance. He stopped. I'm going to pull the stats up here so I don't get it wrong. He stopped 11 takedowns. He was never taken down. 100% takedown offense. But he went for 1 takedown and scored it. So we got 100% takedown offense and offense in that fight. Mm-hmm. And then you look further down in his record, and again, no one's taken him down. It's like the only person that took him down in his whole record was Brad Riddell. But then you look at control time, and it was 14 seconds. And he stopped 3 of 4 takedowns in that fight as well. The challenge for RDA is going to be not getting knocked out on the way in to try and take him down.
Yeah.
But if he stands and plays Muay Thai at him, it's going to look like someone from the 80s fighting someone from the 2000s, because the skill set difference, the
approach to the fight
is different. The approach to it is different, yeah. Like, RDA's not doing any of those Senchai lean backs.
Yeah.
To get away from kicks.
But then maybe he can use the same kick that he used against Neil Magny and pretend to go to the head, have him lean back, take his leg off, get on top and get that, arm triangle.
Yeah.
Which, I don't think it's going to happen, but if it does, I just want this moment to, be edited out and then you just be like, Mystic Veronica.
Mystic Veronica.
Yeah, that's it.
Mystic Macedo.
Yeah.
Yeah. So... Who you think Fiziev's going to take it then?
Yeah, I think Fiziev's going to take it. I think this card is a little bit, very much the passing.
It is the passing of the torch card. Yes,
yeah.
Yes, it is. I don't know as RDA is ready to let go of that torch though. I think he's still clinging onto it with 2 hands. The
thing is and this is just my opinion, but the new style that's coming up is great, but it's still very much in the developing process. And this old style has been set and has been worked and has been everything's kind of for a reason. And maybe it's traditional and not not moved on quickly, but it is set for a reason, and there are things that work. And a lot of the times when you try to bring in something new, you try to bring in a lot of flair, which ends up getting you caught by somebody who's very very focused and just set on what to do, like Glover Teixeira. You can come in with the flashy stuff, but sometimes that doesn't play out because it gives you a straight opening. Or if you're grappling and you really want to do a submission finish and stuff, and you start to extend yourself, extend your arms, extend your legs, your balance starts to get off just because you're trying very hard to create this nice flair, which I think the new style is a little bit like that. There's a little bit more social media. It's a little bit less, not less about fighting, but it's different. The approach is different. The mentality is different. And yeah. And all of that,
the benefit in training in one stance is that you get really, really good in one stance, and everyone's got a favored stance. Everyone's got, I guess there are a few people out there that are genuinely ambidextrous, but there's still going to be a comfort in one side over the other, one stance over the other. If I train 100% of my time in an orthodox stance, my orthodox skill set is going to be really, really good. If I then divide that 60-40 between southpaw and orthodox, then my orthodox stance is only going to get 60% as good as it would have done, but then I've got southpaw to fall back on. So you kind of, it's a bit master of jack of all trades, master of none. Like you're efficient and sufficient in both stances, but you don't have a specialist stance. But then I think with someone like Fiziev and the kickboxing experience he's got, and it goes the same with Adesanya, I think they spend so long in a particular stance and they refine that skill set so well that it kind of gets to the stage where, okay, I'll work my other stance just to give me a different a different thing to think about, a different style. Like, you know what, when I have the guys over here training in the gym, like I'll have them work predominantly their good stance, but then I'll have them switch and drill it on the opposite side as well, because I think sometimes you have the reflection. You know, you can go, okay, this is my really good this is my really good side. This is my brown belt side striking, and then if I flip over to the opposite side, now I'm a blue belt or a white belt. I'm like, okay, well, my brown belt side can coach my blue belt side, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think with Fiziev, I think he's got good enough footwork to start with to enable him to switch stance without really thinking too much about it. I mean, I know he has got flair to his style, but I don't think he switches to have flair. I think if he decided he wanted to kickbox with RDA in a southpaw stance or an orthodox stance, I think he'd be just as competitive. So I would say RDA's 100% southpaw is matched by Fiziev's 85% southpaw, but he's also got 95% orthodox as well. Do you know what I mean? So it's like that's where I feel like RDA's out of his depth a little bit.
But he can do good if he like stuffs him when he goes for that switch lead kick, because some of the success that Bobby Green was having was kind of off balancing him. Maybe not so much trying to land a solid shot, but when you're doing that, you're kind of in, there's this tiny gap of an opening where you're generating the power to kick harder that he can exploit, that he can just use off balancing to then maybe try to go for a takedown.
Yep.
And then chain these things up, like not only chain the wrestling, but also chain the striking into the off balancing into the wrestling, where he could have maybe more success.
Yeah.
And he's a very smart, like in the War Room where you showed that, what do you call it, that arm triangle. He was also having a hook with that same, the leg closest to the body. It was a little hook that was making it difficult for the opponent to bridge out. And that's just years and years of rolling and experience, and kind of, you know, like sometimes I've been rolling with like black belts that are like really small, and the pressure feels like they're like 200 pounds. It's crazy.
Yeah. Because they know how to distribute that weight. And they also, like, I was talking about this morning at the gym with the guys when we're thinking about escaping positions, right? Like if you're in a position where you're escaping, you have to then think a few moves ahead to figure out what your opponent's options are.
Yeah.
Like we have to do it in striking as well, but it is different in striking. Whereas in jiu-jitsu, there are more clearer paths. Like if I've got somebody on my back and I'm scraping them off using the mat and I'm now laying on one of their thighs, I know what their options are based on where my arms are. I know that they're most likely going to try and scramble to take mount. If my arm is in a bad position, they're going to maybe scramble to take an arm triangle. So I know what I'm dealing with because I've already foreseen what their options are.
Yes.
Same thing with RDA and the experience that he's got. He's putting himself in the mind of Neil Magny or Kevin Lee on the floor, and he's seeing what they need. So he's wedging that knee underneath their hips so they can't bridge, and he's lacing that ankle so they can't utilize that base. But that's his ability to think about what he's doing and also think about what they're doing at the same time. And a lot of fighters with, 11, 12 fights, they don't think in the mind of their opponent enough. They think about what they do. And sometimes that can be their undoing because they'll make mistakes that other fighters wouldn't. And RDA, with his experience, again, I mean, the longer the fight goes, if I was Fiziev, I'd have been asking for this over 3 rounds because I think a 3-round fight, I give it to Fiziev every day.
Yeah, but then that doesn't put him in a good light if he does that.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Because the question is, over Bobby Green, you look really tired. That's like kind of the preset. So he's also here trying to prove that, no, I can go 5 rounds. And okay, yeah, maybe that fight, that happened. But, it's different circumstances. I've evolved. And what you thought was a problem isn't actually a problem.
Yeah. I think that there's going to be much less a chance of him getting tied in this fight because of that 3rd round against Bobby Green.
Yeah.
But I also think that fight still played out in the range that he's most comfortable with, and RDA is most likely going to try and make him grapple as well, which engages a different energy system. It makes you feel very different. Like going grappling to striking or striking to grappling.
It's exhausting.
It's very odd. It's you're using different muscles in different ways. Striking is about contracting fast and moving quick and then relaxing and allowing the movement to express itself. In grappling, it's much more about bracing, it's isometric, it's, okay, now I'm relaxed and now I'm going to go, and then there's an explosion. But then sometimes you'll need those isometric moments where you're braced and you've built a frame, and you don't need it nearly as much in striking unless you're under attack and you're not relaxed. Like, this is the thing, like, even under attack, Fiziev is comfortable as long as he's on his feet.
Yeah.
Because he's so confident in that range where he can block and slip and stuff. But when he's on the floor, his reality of the pressure might feel different.
But you can say the same thing about Izzy, and then people just can't take him down and keep him down.
Very true.
Unless they're like a lot bigger. And the difference between size between Fiziev and RDA isn't the same as Jan versus Izzy, which that was like a big difference. So, yeah, on the ground, maybe you beat me, but if you can't get me to the ground, what good is it?
Good point. Yeah, good. Absolutely good point. Absolutely good point. And Fiziev's takedown offense, as I said, I call bullshit on 95%. I would call that 100%. Because unless you're controlling somebody on the floor for a good 15 seconds or so, I don't know. I'm not the criteria for scoring a takedown needs to be analyzed in my eyes. Like, I was even listening to the commentary for the Makhachev Sarukian fight when it was Felder and I cage side, and there was a takedown that was landed, and I actually said, they've counted that as a takedown, and Felder and I both disagreed with it.
I think it was like
it was Sarukian taking
wasn't
Makhachev
it John
down.
Gooden that had mentioned it or something, because it was like, he's never been taken down and stuff, and they're like, still has it. It was kind of like joking like that, and then that counted came up. So,
but then the other time I can think where it was a real big deal of is he able to take him down? No one's ever taken him down, was when John Jones fought Gustafsson. But that was a clear takedown. Like, there's no denying that was scored as a takedown. But the Sarukian against Makhachev one, I'm like, still
don't count.
Still don't know as I count it. You've got to pacify these people. You got to, if you take somebody down, you've got to at least be able to establish a few moments of control and then start to progress to the next thing. As soon as you open up, if they scramble, it was no use to you taking them down, was it? You might as well take them down the last 10 seconds. That don't get counted.
It might be
either.
kind of like the mentality of not adjusting to an MMA criteria, because in wrestling or in judo, it doesn't matter how long they're on the ground or anything. It's just if they touch it, that's it. You score.
Yeah.
And if you do the same thing for MMA, that counts really big. Although to finish the fight, it's not really that big. You actually wasted a lot of energy to take the person down and got nothing from it. But yeah, there's no real adaptation to what actually is control and what actually is like a solid takedown.
Yeah, and this, like with RDA being happy to grapple and knowing full well that Fiziev is going to be difficult to hold down and control. If his mentality is, well, I know I can do 25 minutes with big welterweights. As long as he keeps that pace on him and forces Fiziev to keep scrambling and working out, then RDA has always got that safety net in the bag of the later rounds. One way of taking that away from him, if you're Fiziev, is to do damage to him, bloody him. Like this scar tissue around RDA's eyes. He's a damaged individual when it comes to his orbital bones and his nose and stuff. If I'm Fiziev, I'm trying to hit him with knees, I'm trying to hit him with elbows and open him up, because then that brings an urgency to RDA's game, because especially if you catch him here, right at the top of the thing, it could be a glancing elbow as he's on the way into level change.
Yeah.
And RDA might still win the round, but he might get up at the end of the round and walk back to his corner and have a face full of blood, and they might be looking at stopping it because it's going in his eyes. Like, there's an urgency that comes when blood is drawn, and that could be something else that Fiziev could lean on.
Like the Masvidal fight versus
Nate.
Diaz. Yeah, Nate Diaz.
Yeah.
It got stopped early because of the blood, and he also has a lot of scar tissue.
Yeah.
As does RDA.
Yeah. What about the blood from that Joel Alvarez elbow? That was bad, wasn't it?
Bad.
I mean, that was literally... There's a fight that always comes to mind when I see something really bloody, and it was a guy called Edwin Duiz, and he was on The Ultimate Fighter. It was like 3rd or 4th season. And the poor guy had bleached white hair, the whitest skin you've ever seen, and white shorts on, and he got cut right here, right on his on the inside of his eyebrow, and it was just pissing everywhere. It was spraying out of him. But because he was a better grappler than his opponent, he took him down. He got into side control, crucifix, and put his hand over the cut while he was ground and pounding him to stop the bleeding. brilliant. I always stuck out in my mind because I'm like, okay, he's giving himself medical treatment at the same time as beating his opponent up because he knows that he can't be bleeding all over the place because the doctor will stop it. You know, it just always stuck out in my mind of like, that's pretty fucking gangster.
I thought you were going to say the just bleed guy, but this is better.
Just stick a finger in this cut. Yeah, he won the fight as well.
Nice. So who's winning this fight? Who do you think?
I don't want to pick. I really don't want to pick.
Well, this is a pick show, so you got pick.
I know.
I'm going hype train.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, sorry, RDA.
You think? I don't know. I don't think I can. Like I said, over 3 rounds, I pick Fiziev every time because I think he's incredibly damaging for 10 minutes. And even if he loses that 3rd round, that's all good. But if he loses the 3rd round to RDA and then he goes into the 4th and he's gassed and he's taken down and he's getting arm triangled or rear naked choked, I've got to lean on the experience of RDA. As much of a fan as I am of Fiziev, I think this might at this point be a step too far for him, and I'll be happily surprised if he's able to win because RDA's on his way. He's on his way, and Fiziev's 28. He's coming up. He's definitely one of the more exciting fighters in the whole of the UFC, and his aggression and fighting style is very much a bit of me.
I love his kicks.
Yeah,
it's just like you can almost see the person's body kind of like a Thai pad. Or he's just doing like 20 of those like really hard, nasty, like with the shin.
Yeah, he generates a lot of power. But then RDA does as well. Like everything he lands looks like it's heavy, thudding. It's got weight behind it. Just before we move on from this fight, this is a big one for the lightweight division rankings. So you've got Fiziev at number 11 and RDA at number 6. And the fighters in between Fiziev and RDA are Conor McGregor, Gregor Gillespie, Dan Hooker, and Tony Ferguson. So, like, if he picks up a win here over RDA, he puts himself in striking distance of some really, really interesting matchups. If they give him Gregor Gillespie, that's horrible. Dan Hooker has already moved down to featherweight, so he's effectively out of this division. So now you're looking at the likes of Tony Ferguson and Chandler and Dariush potentially when he comes back because he didn't take the Makhachev fight. This opens up doors for Fiziev. So even if he does win this one, there's a lot of guys with a lot of experience ahead of him. And at some point, I feel like the 12 fights that he's got, 13 fights that he's got, I won't mind seeing him pick up a loss here and get a couple more fights and have RDA in that mix with Tony Ferguson and Conor. Mm-hmm. That'd be fun. But like I said, I would be pleasantly surprised if if Fiziev wins.
He's just gotten better and better and better. And
Yeah. I don't know. There's just something that keeps taking me back to like RDA is going to take a beating for 10 minutes and then in that 3rd round he's going to get his hands on him and it's going to start looking worse and worse. And you'll be like, holy shit. Like, how do you lose an advantage like a lead on the scorecards like this? And 3rd, 4th round, RDA is going to start to come on. That's my pick. I'm going RDA.
Okay.
And I'm not happy about myself for doing that. But that'll balance out my Edson Barbosa Bryce Mitchell pick, which I felt bad about picking against Barbosa. Okay. Main event time. Look at Masvidal's hair. Isn't that looking slick?
Cow licked it.
Right. Okay. A similar record, a bit more experience for Covington, of course. So 16-3 for Covington, 35-15 for Masvidal. Same height, 2-inch reach advantage for Masvidal. And you see, this is where UFC Stats is letting us down again, Jamie, because they've got Colby Covington listed as orthodox. It seems to me like the people who do UFC Stats don't watch MMA.
You mean the ones that score the takedowns?
Well, having said that, I actually met the guy that set up UFC Stats, and he was a super, super MMA nerd, and he loved what he'd created, and then they sold it to the UFC, and since then it's kind of slid a little bit. Because they can't update their own fucking website, let alone another one called UFC Stats. Like, start with UFC.com. For God's sake, that should be the center, the pivotal point of all mixed martial arts in the world. It should be the best website for all mixed martial arts. And it's currently worse than my Instagram page. It's terrible. It's like, it's just weak. Like Fight Pass is a pain in the ass, as you both know from your researching, but like UFC.com should be the place you go to check for your UFC news. How it's not, it blows my mind. And the fact that they can't get the stats right, fucking UFC stats is ridiculous. Anyway, Bryce Mitchell. Oh, bloody hell. Bryce Mitchell with the loss on his record. You know, Tapology had it right. Maybe employ the guys that are running Tapology to do UFC stats. That's a thought. There we go. Someone that's already doing it correctly. Okay.
About the fights now.
About the fights. About the fights. Look at this difference here. So, wins by KO, 3 for Covington and 16 for Masvidal. 5 wins by submission for Covington and 2 for Masvidal. Now, I don't expect Masvidal to sub him, really, I don't. But the fact that he is a neck attacker, that he's Darces and Anacondas and stuff, does make it interesting if Colby gets rocked, if he gets hurt. Imagine Masvidal rushing forward and Covington level changing and Masvidal catching him with a knee and rocking him for a minute. And then Covington's autopilot is to grab his legs and scramble. And that's where Masvidal does what he did to Chiesa, where he wraps him up with that anaconda and chokes him out.
Kind of like that Dustin Poirier fight that you were talking about, his Darces.
Exactly.
Who is it that he was fighting?
His nickname was the Scarecrow. I can't think what his actual name is.
That's close enough. I called Michael Lord the whole time. Yeah, so.
yeah. But
Michał
what you find is that good strikers tend to develop good neck attacks because people are trying to level change into them. Like I always say, the guillotine is the striker's submission. Like I have one submission on my record. It was a guillotine. It was kind of accidental. He kind of fell into it. You know, I'm not a submissions guy. I never claimed to be, but guillotines were always the first thing that would come to mind because you start defending the takedown and sometimes you notice you're like, I can just fucking, you know, like Masvidal's been doing this for years. He's had 50 fights and that's only the ones that we've got recorded on his Tapology page. You've got to think how many times he's fought, you know, in the gym and it's felt like a real fight, on the streets and it's been a real fight. I can't ever underestimate Masvidal. I think his fight IQ is incredibly high. I think he's very clever, the way he plays the game, the psychology of it. The question is, you know, how well does Colby know him and how well can Colby maintain pressure on Masvidal without getting hurt? Because that's what it's all about. It's about volume and pressure. Masvidal's the slicker striker. There's no doubt about it. And I know people will disagree. They'll go, oh yeah, but Usman knocked out Masvidal. As a fellow fighter, explain this shit to these people. MMA math doesn't work like that. If one person beats another person by striking, that doesn't mean that person's now no good at striking. Like, I would still say that Masvidal is a better striker than Usman, right? Technically, he's a more well-rounded striker. He's got more facets to his game.
But he got caught.
He got caught with a beautiful punch. It happens in MMA.
Same in grappling. What was this? Rodolfo Vieira that got armbarred.
There you go.
You're not going to tell me that guy is better grappling than him.
Right.
Like, come on.
Anaconda? Darce? I think it was a neck attack, wasn't it?
Oh, whatever. Submission.
But the point goes both ways, right? Colby Covington's striking isn't as good as Masvidal's, but if he puts himself in punching range and keeps throwing, something's going to land and it's going to be effective, right? Now, Usman, when he fought Masvidal the first time, clinched him, held him up against the fence, stomped on his feet, made it a very boring fight because he didn't want to play striking. But then he went and knocked out Gilbert Burns, and his confidence has shot up now. Mm-hmm. This is just a very different fight again. I think that they're going to stand at kicking range, and I think Masvidal's going to wait for Covington to come to him and defend as many takedowns as he can and try and hurt him in the process. Elbows and knees and, you know, body kicks. I think there's going to be nothing taken off the table for Masvidal. I don't think he's going to be afraid to throw anything in case it gets caught or whatever, because I think he knows that he can scramble and he can get back to his feet against Covington.
Which he has been training for a very, very long time.
Prepared by Covington. Yeah.
And with him leaving to MMA Masters, which I will say they always seem to kind of know the drama going on ATT and like...
They harvest the fighters
from
there.
Ready to like pounce on it. I remember when I spoke to them, because that actually MMA Masters was the first place that I trained MMA, and then I went to ATT for a little bit. But I was very, very young. And Amanda Nunes had gone and had transferred. And I remember I was speaking to them and they were telling me that she was having a bit of issues with the stuff at American Top Team, and now she's left. So it's kind of like, and during the countdown, they were talking about how the drama at the gym couldn't play out. So they were kind of really prepared for either Colby or Masvidal or whoever of the two was going to leave to like kind of get them because it's in a similar area. But the only issue that I have with that is that maybe they'll be a little bit too catering to Covington. To a little bit too like, yes, because like now you're a big star in our gym and that.
So they want him to stay training there instead of telling him what he's doing wrong and risk losing him.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And also when I see some of the ads that Colby does with like the bang energy, it seems like the coaches play into it a little bit more than they would at ATT. At ATT, people were getting like kind of annoyed.
Yeah.
Like, why are you bringing in these girls? Like, why are you talking all this? And it wasn't as catering to what he wanted, which I think in his mind he really does feel like Masvidal like betrayed him for somehow, you know? Like maybe he does. Maybe he feels like maybe he's kind of just a little bit delusional and feels like it was because of his success and not that he was absolutely trashing like any sort of immigrant that is basically all of South Florida. Like there's more Spanish speaking people than there is like you do in English. And I know that his beef wasn't with Hispanic people, that he talked bad about Brazilians, but you're in Sao Paulo with Damian. Like Damian Maia is one of like the nicest person. Like I think if like a family member of mine fought Damian Maia, I'd probably.
but let me, and this is a very unusual thing for me to do. Let me come to Colby's defense in this circumstance, because he went into that fight being told that he was going to be released regardless. Like the UFC weren't going to re-sign him because they didn't like him. They didn't like his character because he didn't have a character.
Yeah.
So. And this was, you can see the impact on his social media. There's a documentary about it and about the turning point, and the impacts on his social media on his fights, and then on the point when he went to Brazil and caused all that chaos. He's playing a game. Yeah. I don't believe anything that he says. I don't think I think he's gone after Masvidal knowing full well that it's one of the easier fights in the division for him, because Gilbert Burns would probably be a rough fight. Leon Edwards would probably be a rough fight. I think he feels like he knows Masvidal enough, and Masvidal's, 37. He's on his way down towards the end of his career. I think he feels like this is not only a valuable win to add on his record, but it's also a name that will allow him to banter back and forth and stay in the public eye.
Yes.
Because that's what this fight's all about for me. It's about the fact that these two guys knew each other. They trained together. They referred to each other as best friends when they were living together. And then the turning point when Covington turned on Masvidal was live on TV, and they kind of played the interview in to Masvidal in the studio, and you could see he was angry, but you could also see he was hurt. Like there was something genuine in Masvidal's face, like, fucking really? Like, because Masvidal was recognizing what Covington's doing. He's like, oh, okay, you recognize, you see me as the weak part of the division now, so you're going to go after me. And that has riled Masvidal no end. And that makes me very excited, because that version of Masvidal's lethal. Like, the Masvidal that's being counted out because Darren Till's so much bigger and more powerful than him, and he's fighting him in London, and he starches him, right? Then he goes into the Askren fight, and everyone's like, as soon as he gets his hands on him, he's going to be a nightmare, and he just didn't even manage to touch him. He was fucking rigor mortis before he even realized the fight had started. Masvidal angry is in his element. He's in his element because he doesn't get miscalculated with it, right? He stays calm and he stays lethal. And I think, to be honest, and I know this is going to upset some of the Diaz fans out there, but I very much felt like he carried Nate through part of that fight. Like, Nate's toughness kept him in there, absolutely, but there were a few moments where Masvidal could have put him out. I genuinely believe that. And I feel like Masvidal was trying to put on a performance because of the event. Fucking, president's there, and the Rock's there. Yeah, exactly. He needed to almost validate Nate as one of the BMFs in order for the belt to be worth something. Yeah. Of course, it's a gimmick belt, and we all know that, but it did represent something in the moment. It represented two of the most fucking gangster individuals on the roster fighting one another. It just so happened that the real gangster is Nick Diaz. That's who we wanted in there. And that would have been a different Masvidal. He would have been far more calculated and respectful. With Nate, he kind of toyed with him. And Nate had too much scar tissue to even stay in the fight long enough to kind of pull it back in his direction. That's a calculated Masvidal that's not angry at his opponent. And he still did that to him. When you see him angry and focused, he's deadly. And I like Covington based on the fact that he's able to put a really good MMA skill set out into the field. But for me, I always gravitate towards that person that's got that natural fucking dog in them. Because I recognize that aspect in myself. I'm like, okay, you're going to kick me, I'm gonna bury you. You know what I mean? He's got that kind of attitude. And, well, I mean, I tagged him in an Instagram post the other day. I put the breakdown show post in my stories, tagged him in it, and he literally just replied, gonna hurt him. 3 words, gonna hurt him. Nothing else.
That was awesome.
And that's a private message as well. That's not for anybody else. That's him just fucking letting me know where his mind's at. And I didn't doubt it for a second. I'm like, yeah, I know. The question is, can Colby stop him doing it? And he can quite possibly do it. I mean, most people are thinking that Covington's going to take him down and maul him. But it's not nearly as clean cut as that. Like, people underestimate Masvidal all the time. They always underestimate him. You know? And I think Covington has got a really, really good skill set that Masvidal's really, really familiar with.
Yeah.
And the difference in Masvidal's game is that he was already a great fighter when Covington was his training partner, and now he's matured into a veteran. Mm-hmm. Covington's matured into a great fighter, but he's still not got that veteranship level that Masvidal's got. And a lot of the skills that he learned, especially the striking skills, he would have got from working with Masvidal.
Yeah, same coaches, same team. Which
Masvidal even paid for the coaching in one of his training camps because Colby didn't pay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is part of the reason why Masvidal got so mad.
Yeah.
Because he ended up being mad not after the Brazil thing, because they were still kind of cool. It was after like a problem with the payment of the coaches, which...
You know, right after Covington had been to Brazil and called everybody names, he was in Australia. Do you remember when Verdum attacked him with that boomerang?
Yeah.
I watched that through the window of the hotel lobby. And that's the point of difference between the two. Covington was like, call the police, security, yeah, fucking lawsuits and all kinds of stuff. Masvidal would have, he would have been calm. He'd have put his hands behind his back, and then he'd have fucking ran you down at some point and attacked you because that's his style.
Yeah,
I can't root against Masvidal ever. Like, I just can't. I'm a big fan of Masvidal. I think this is going to be a really, really tough test for him, and I could quite easily see Covington mauling him to a decision. But there are lots of opportunities for Masvidal to catch him with that wicked smash elbow that he's got. And if he starts to gain a bit of ground on Covington, he's going to eat that up. I'm going for Masvidal.
Yeah, I am as well. There's just like... I'm just not going to go for Colby. Like, I think ever in my life, I'm never going to say Colby's going to win.
Yeah.
Even if I might think who's going to win, I'm just never... It's not going to come out of my mouth. It's not like... I understand that you need whatever to get yourself up. And to be honest, the amount of media and attention he got after that was ridiculous. Mm-hmm. It was like, it worked to a T. But, man, I'd rather somebody have morals and not be known than do that. Yeah. Nope.
Yeah.
Not for me.
I mean, as far as his skill set goes, if I'm making an argument for... Oh, and by the way, I have done the breakdown. I've done a war room on this to check out, but my breakdown show's also up on the BT Sport channel. I'm not sure whether it's geo-blocked yet, but if it is, check out nordvpn.com/outlawed. That was silky smooth, right? You like that? And if you use the VPN, you can watch it no matter where you are in the world. And if you are watching it somewhere else in the world and you're taking a digital vacation in the UK... let us know in the comments where you are, because I do like to see those keep popping up. Watching this in Czech Republic, watching this in Brazil. I love it. The fact that people are going to these lengths to try and get around these geo-blocking nonsense is brilliant. So,
it was a great breakdown.
Do you like it?
Yeah, I loved it.
Honestly,
I love like how you kind of like look into the camera and like. Plus, also when I watch it, I make sure like I'm in the office and like the room, and I turn all the lights off, and I get the nice laptop, not this one, your other one, and I put that one on. I even wipe the screen. I don't wipe the screen.
You don't wipe the screen for nothing.
And I make sure there's not even any dust, and I just sit and I watch it. It's amazing. I love it.
What's odd is I always sit down and think to myself, I'm gonna 30 minutes this one. I'm gonna keep it nice and short. I've got 10 minutes of footage. I'm just gonna roll through this one, no bother. And I finish, and I feel like I've been exorcised by a priest who's been fucking throwing holy water and shit at me. And I go, how long was that, Jamie? And he went, that was an hour. I'm like, fuck, how is that an hour? How have I talked for an hour about one fight?
Because you go into a little rabbit hole for
That's very true.
3-4 days watching footage in order to...
See? Yeah, you see, you heard it then. You heard it.
That's
just
a
leave that
Pablo
in here,
moment.
otherwise people are going to think we're crazy. Yeah, it was a weird disconnection sound, wasn't it? Sounds like I'm being electrocuted.
Anyway, I can vouch for that, because before you start, you're always like, it's going to be like 20 minutes, honey. It's going to be like 25 minutes. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to make sure I have to go to the bathroom, make sure I have my tea, make sure I have my snacks so I can listen in the corner.
Let me just make a tea and get some popcorn and use the restroom. I'm like, okay. It'll only be 20 minutes, honestly. And I'm like, an hour later. Yeah. I could talk for hours about these fights. Something I am actually going to do. I might even do it later this week. We'll have a chat about it, Jamie. We're going to start live streaming on the channel because I want to be able to speak to you guys as well. As much as I love having conversations with you beautiful people, I like to know what the fans have got to say as well. So I am going to start doing live streams on this, and you can then, pick my brain a bit more, because I always feel after these things, there's a lot of information that I get to the end and I'm like, oh, I didn't mention that submission against Michael Chiesa that he landed. That's a possibility in this fight. I feel like I have to cover everything.
Yeah.
So I think if I do like a live stream later in the week, like a Thursday or a Friday before the fights, then we can have proper deep conversations about what we think is going to happen based on the fight being like a day away. Mm-hmm. So I am going to start doing that. Give us a... Here it is again.
Is it the headphone?
I don't know. It can't be because we're all hearing it.
Yeah, no, but we're all plugged into the same headphone.
Oh, that's true. That's true. There we go. Let's hope it's that. Sorry, we're having technical difficulties here. Yeah, anyway, what was I saying?
That you were going to do a live thing.
Yes, I'm going to do a live stream. If you like the idea of that, then... no, it's not that. It's not that. Absolutely not.
Because you can have deep conversations with other people. He's not going to have them with me.
What it is, I like being challenged. I like people asking me a question that's... No. You...
Stop it. You're just burying yourself. Just say you really like interacting with fans and stuff. That's fine. I really like having deep conversations and then stare at me while you say it.
You know that's not what I mean. I like curveballs. I like things that I like someone to ask me a question. I'm like, I didn't think about that. How do I? Anyway. All right, you stop fucking sulking now. Right, let's go. So who do you think is going to win? Masvidal?
Yeah, I already told you. Masvidal.
What's your pick, though?
I think Masvidal by stoppage. You know what, dude? When he came back from that TV show that he had time to like mental himself, he came back and he fought Darren Till, and it was incredible. Mm-hmm. And he also fought Ben Askren, and it was incredible. I think after that, it got a little bit like fame and derailed him. I think with Masvidal, it's never that he's not like maybe the better fighter. He's just kind of like ebb and flows on how much he
the thing is,
when you fight so much, it's just another fight. It doesn't become like, this is my 10th fight that is this much, Like, if I'm undefeated, that means like my entire life. It goes like, it's a fight. I've been in 8,000 of them. Let's go.
It's kind of like Musashi on Friday night, right? Like Gegard Mousasi, again, another one of my favorite fighters, has had
so funny.
50 odd fights, right? Mm-hmm. And sometimes he just doesn't seem to want to be in there. That's the really odd thing about Musashi. He just does. He's like, sometimes he's just like, maybe I'll fight this time, maybe I won't, And then but then if he decides he wants to put it on someone, he usually just runs through them. Like, I mean, you could make a real strong argument that Gegard Mousasi is the best middleweight in the world right now, and I would argue that corner for you. I could give you a few curveballs in the opposite direction, but I definitely think he's up there. I mean, you look at the amount of experience he's got compared to everybody else in mixed martial arts But as you said, you get later on in your career and you've had loads of fights, it becomes a bit more comfortable. And I do feel like Masvidal can be comfortable sometimes, but I think that comfortability suits him, either because he's okay with his opponent and he carries him while he beats him up like he did against Nate, or he hates him and he's going to put it on him, but he doesn't rush it and go reckless. He still reads them and calculates and picks his opportunity.
And you're also adding in his coach that trained Colby a lot of his striking. He's mad because he didn't get paid, and the whole drama that happened.
It's a whole team effort.
Yeah, so now the team's really gonna like be picking at every single inch possible to take advantage. And like you said about the Ben Askren knockout, it wasn't a coincidence or something. He always like dips his head to one side, to the same side as soon as he starts the fight. So. If that being said, with the amount of information he had on Ben, imagine the amount of information he has on Colby.
Mm-hmm.
So that plus his like a malicious intent in the fight, mixed with some meditation and some like
and some street Jesus.
But not only that, but like think like he's in Miami, man. He gotta like defend it.
Yeah.
He has to.
Yeah.
He's like holding it down for Miami.
Is that right?
Yeah, 305 and stuff. Let's go.
Shit, she's claiming postcodes and stuff now. I don't know. Fucking NG12. I don't know.
What?
Whatever.
No, that's a phone number. 305 is like what the phone starts with.
Oh yeah, no, it's area code. That's your area code. 702 is Vegas, right?
Yeah.
I used to have a 702. I used to have a 323, which is
but
Hollywood.
it's not a postcode. A
used to have
postcode's different. A postcode's like 38272 whatever. It's not like in England when it's like
You need to watch the
city
James Acaster thing when he's talking about gang warfare in southeast London. It's hilarious. You seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah,
Fucking brilliant.
I guess
He's
that's
like-
what I'll do next.
He got so angry at one point that he shouted out his whole postcode and had to move house. What was his postcode? What did he kept shouting?
It's London, innit?
Yeah, it was brilliant. James Acaster, you got to check him out. Okay, we've gone off on all kinds of tangents here. We started recording this podcast like 4 hours ago.
It's because you took a bathroom break and then you like
Who did?
revived.
Who did? We've edited that shit out. That's gone. No one even knows when that was.
Well, you can guess when he took a bathroom break because he came back with energy.
There you go. There you go. There's your fun game for the podcast, as well as your drinking game for who was it further down the card?
Yeah, Marina Rodriguez. Every time she fixes her shorts, take a shot. She does like in between the corner, and it goes kind of deep. You know, I'm always kind of scared that I'll see too much.
Maybe she's trying to distract her opponent.
Well, yeah, I guess.
Okay, right. You're going for Colby Covington. I'm going for Masvidal.
What? I
right?
never said that.
I think you did. I kind of feel like you said. I think it's
He's
just
funny.
Colby Covington. Okay, we're Team Masvidal this week. I kind of can't pick against him. So most of the time, I really am impartial. I really don't care. But I am a big Masvidal fan, as you know.
Yeah.
It was very difficult when he was fighting Darren Till because I didn't really want to see either of those guys fight one another.
Yeah, and he came like to speak to you after.
Yeah.
With Darren Till's bands.
Yeah. Well, I mean, he'd watched the breakdown show, and I think what he felt all the way through that is that he wasn't getting any credit that he was going to win, and because I did the face off with them as well, which was a lot of fun. And I mean, there was a lot of like kind of relaxed banter back and forth, but the whole energy of Masvidal is, I'm going to prove you're wrong. I'm going to prove everybody wrong, and that was the energy that he had. And I would imagine the people that he felt were of the same mindset that he had that potential was quite a small group.
To say that, like, real quick with that fight, like, he has, like, these set moves that he can see, like, the blistering shots or the knees and stuff, but he times it well to the opening of the opponent because Darren Till was leaving an opening for that, and he, like, caught on to it, just as he caught on to that Ben Askren, like, he uses his skill sets, but directly where the hole
where they
is.
need it. Yeah. Where he needs to,
So smart dude.
Yeah.
I like him.
I hope he doesn't get mauled for 25 minutes because that would be rather frustrating to watch.
Yeah.
Okay, quick shout out to our sponsors, NordVPN. Go to nordvpn.com/outlawed, or if you use the code outlawed at checkout, you will get a massive discount. You'll get a month free, you'll get a free gift, and it's a 30-day money-back guarantee as well. So get on it, check it out, watch the breakdown show for this main event. And give us a like. And Full Reptile.co.uk. You need no code. We have a sale on all of the lifestyle stuff. So all of the Stack and the Visionary t-shirts. We've got a few hoodies left, but we're literally like we're like down to like a handful of everything. So if you're grabbing it, get on it pretty soon because the sale's going to be ending very quickly, and then we've got a whole load of new stuff coming, which is going to be Roughhouse branded because the team have all got fights coming up. We've got some savages in the gym going to wreck shop this weekend. I cannot wait. It's going to be a good weekend.
Yeah.
All right.
And then I leave next week.
And the Aries, of course, is
Yes.
another one creeping up. Yeah, we should have a chat about them at some point because the Lazy King is the man, isn't he?
I think he hasn't gotten any UFC offers, which is crazy
That's
after
crazy.
the performance he put on and the time before.
Yeah.
Plus the crowd he gets going.
He's a special fighter.
Yeah, I like him.
is.
He's a really nice guy.
Yeah, the Lazy King. Yeah, he's very good, very good. Okay, we'll wrap it there. Thanks for joining us, and I'll see you next time.